Let's get it going. The next video that I've gotten to record, so even though this one is going to come out first, I'm actually recording this one second. As you can tell, a little bit of inconsistency with the haircut compared to the video that'll be coming out in another week here. But yeah, excited for this. I guess this will technically be the first recorded video released on the Coach Lantz YouTube channel. Obviously, I'm going to be out of town, so I'm not going to be doing my usual live streams as I won't have my PC set up, and hopefully I won't have any kind of network connectivity where I'm going to just kind of disconnect for a little while out on vacation. So really enjoying that. But as you can tell from the title, today we're going to be looking at the 3 new teams joining Minnesota 6A football. So what is 6A football? It is just the 32 biggest schools in the state of Minnesota, and they all just come together and play their own class of 6A football. And we've got 3 new opponents joining this year. So let's get on with it, move on to our next slide here. So first, we have to talk about athletic enrollment. So as I just said, it's the 32 biggest schools based on enrollment. That's not entirely true. This is where things get a little bit confusing with how classification works for Minnesota sports. So this blurb I've taken from right here in the middle is actually from the Minnesota State High School League website. This is their official statement on how they determine athletic enrollment. So MSHSL enrollment is determined by the school's Minnesota Department of Education enrollment, which, for those that don't know, those are enrollment statistics submitted by public school districts to the Minnesota Department of Education for grades 9 through 12, minus 40% of the kids on educational benefits / free and reduced lunch. So to give an example down here, say you have 100 students enrolled at your high school, grades 9 through 12. 10 out of those 100 are on free and reduced lunch. So what you would do is you take the total enrollment, which would be 100 kids, and then you subtract that, or you would subtract 40% of the free and reduced lunch kids. So how many free and reduced lunch kids did I say that we have? We've got 10 of them right here. So 40% of 10 equals 4. So to get our athletic enrollment, we just do 100 minus 4, and that equals 96, which would be our hypothetical school's athletic enrollment. We'll call it Lantz High School. There we go. Lantz High School has 96 students athletically enrolled in it. But that's how the formula works. And so moving on, this is the Minnesota State High School League athletic enrollments for the 25 to 27 cycle. So I don't know if I mentioned that on the previous slide, but here it says in the little blurb that obviously the athletic enrollment determines the school's classification, and they do this on odd numbered years every 2 years. So 2023, obviously we just got it this spring in 2025, and we're going to get it in 2 years in the spring of 2027, which who knows who will be in 6A by then. But probably all 3 of these teams are still going to be in 6A, and my guess is, hey, we might even see like an Elk River jump up to 6A. Forest Lake might move down to 5A. You never know, but we got 2 more years to go before we start planning any of that out. So here we have the 32 biggest schools in Minnesota, and 31 indicated by this red line. There was a whole thing about Apple Valley being 6A, because if it was the top 32, Apple Valley would have been 6A. But you can check out the Minnesota High School Football Network podcast I did over with them back from March, talking about that whole Apple Valley situation. Bottom line, Apple Valley is not 6A, and Coon Rapids, who's not listed here because they're smaller than all these schools, opted back up to stay in 6A for this cycle, which, you know, good for the Cardinals. Maybe they'll be able to compete this year. I guess we'll see. New head coach and everything. But in order for 3 teams to come up to 6A, 3 had to go down to 5A, and they were Rochester Mayo, Burnsville, who, a bit of a shock. They've been kind of declining enrollment-wise for the last few years, so it was you could easily see that coming. Mayo just had a short stint up here. And then the other school was Buffalo High School, who not listed on this first page because they're a little bit lower in athletic enrollment. And so where did I get these numbers from? Well, as you can guess, this is from the Minnesota State High School League's website. And as I mentioned on the previous slide, this data is taken from the enrollment data that school districts report to the Minnesota Department of Education, which I may abbreviate to MDE. And as you can see, this would be the technical order, with Wayzata being the biggest school in 6A and Andover and Forest Lake being tied for the smallest. And these 3 gray lines here on the chart indicate our 3 newcomers to 6A football. We have Moorhead, Rogers, and Andover. We're going to talk about all 3 of those teams today because, I mean, just looking in the broader scope of 6A football, most kids may not have even heard of these teams, let alone know anything about them. Like, take us down here in Lakeville. I'm sure we've played Moorhead in hockey, but do we know anything about Moorhead football? I'm sure there's a handful of our kids that don't even know where Moorhead is on a map. Maybe same thing with Rogers. I think Andover may have a little bit more experience, being an Anoka Hennepin school, which we'll get into that more in a bit. But having played like Anoka, Champlain Park, Coon Rapids, it's about time they finally got up to 6A and get back with the rest of their in-district rivals. So, we're going to talk about one of the teams first. But before I get into that team, I wanted to highlight this Instagram post from my buddy Caleb over at the Minnesota High School Football Network. So he and I had been going back and forth, and when these numbers were first announced back in the end of February of 2025, I sent him the info, and at the time, like I said, we thought Apple Valley was in there. So these were the 4 new teams in 6A, and then I noticed a very strange comment on his post, as you can see circled here. It's from Independent School District 728, which is the Elk River School District, saying, "Would love to see your sources on this." Well, so if we go back a slide, well, again, there's your source. So for those that don't know, ISD728 is the Elk River School District. It encompasses Rogers High School, Elk River High School, and Zimmerman High School, who, funny enough, are all in different classes, actually. Zimmerman's 4A, Elk River's still 5A, Rogers is now 6A. But the source is right here. This is the official Minnesota State High School League website, and you are within the top 32, which would put you in 6A. They are technically, all 3 of the new teams are below that 1,800 student cutoff right here, Woodbury and below. They all could, submit a claim to move back down to 5A if they wanted to, but it's pretty rare that ever gets approved. But like I said earlier, these numbers are all taken from the actual statistics that public school districts report to the Minnesota Department of Education. And oversimplified, that essentially controls a lot of the funding the state provides, because so much funding to public schools is determined by your enrollment. So you're required to, like, I know at the district I work in, which is not Lakeville, we, every December and January, we're required to submit all of our enrollment data to the Minnesota Department of Education. And there's a whole process of how we collect that through our management system and everything. It's a lot of information, but we are required to submit that on an annual basis, which is really weird that, and I'll show you in a second, this is the official Instagram account of ISD728, that they'd be questioning this, because it's like, you are the source. These are numbers that you submitted to the Minnesota Department of Education. So, if we click on this link here, we'll go out of the slideshow for a second. This is the actual demographics page of ISD728. And if you look, here's all their enrollment numbers. The one part that I think is kind of funny about this is that it says the source is the Minnesota Department of Education, but it's like, aren't you the one that submits that data to the Minnesota Department of Education? Maybe ISD 728 does it differently than how our school district does it, but the school district I work at, we submit all this data ourselves to the Minnesota Department of Education, as I said, every December, January of a fiscal year. Even enrollment by special population, again, Minnesota Department of Education. So it's clear that the school is, or at least I should say the district, is submitting all of this data. Like, yeah, you have a total count of all the students as of fall 2023, the communities it encompasses, all the schools. Like, that's just, yeah. See, it's just really strange that you would be questioning this. Like, what's the source, when the official data you've submitted to the Minnesota Department of Education is the source. Yeah, but hey, as I've said, the 6A enrollment and classification, and just the classification for sports in general, is a pretty complicated topic. So, like, I can understand why, like, football fans or parents or media would get confused about that, even players and coaches for that matter. But to see someone in, like, a 6-figure admin role, or at least whoever's controlling the social media account of ISD728 not know that, little bit strange in hindsight. But hey, we're all in the education field. We're all about being lifelong learners. We never stop learning, and maybe the person running the account will learn from this. So now you know. The source is yourself. It is the numbers, I should say the enrollment data that your district submits every year in either December or January to the Minnesota Department of Education. The State High School League just takes that data, runs that equation that we showed earlier of right there, official process, minus 10% of the students on free and reduced, or I'm sorry, minus 40% of the students on free and reduced lunch from the total students, and that is your athletic enrollment. So there you go, and that essentially is why these three teams moved up to 6A, because their athletic enrollments went up. Like I know Rogers has been growing, Andover's been growing, Moorhead's been growing, just the communities are growing, especially Rogers. I think they actually had to close open enrollment because the school's been growing so fast. So it was only a matter of time before these three teams moved up. They were all the three cusp teams right down here in the last cycle. And if you look at these other teams, like Mayo kind of moves up and down. Spring Lake Park is landlocked. It's not getting any bigger, really. I mean, Apple Valley is mostly landlocked. It's not getting bigger unless ISD196 redraws boundaries so that some of these Rosemount and Eastview kids get sent over to Apple Valley. I don't know if the building's big enough, though. And then, as I mentioned earlier, Burnsville here is going down in... I want to say that they have a pretty steady decline in student population, so I don't think they're going to come back up to 6A anytime soon. But yeah, given those numbers, let's get into the teams. So first up, we're going to talk about the Rogers Royals after we just talked about ISD728. So they're in playoff section 5, which is all the North teams plus Coon Rapids, and hence they play in the Metro North in-district or in-season district, whatever the proper terminology is you'd like to use for that. As we saw, their enrollment is athletic enrollment is 1,762 students. That's good for 25th in 6A. So, I mean, you could say, sure, they're towards the bottom end, but, like, look at some of these teams they're bigger than. You're bigger than Lakeville South. You're bigger than Lakeville North. You're bigger than Mounds View. So, you're bigger than Forest Lake. Those are all some pretty solid football teams last season, and I think most of them are going to be pretty solid this year. Lakeville South, we're always going to be solid. I don't know about North. I know they lost some kids. I think Mounds View lost their quarterback and running back. Forest Lake's going to be good. They got a lot of returning starters. But yeah, so that's kind of where Rogers sits enrollment-wise. Let's talk about more of an overview. So, mascot, as you see here, is the Royal. Pretty sick logo. Colors are blue and black, and they throw white in there. Last season, they were 4-4 in 5A. I think they had some solid wins against, like, Spring Lake Park. I don't know how they did against Sauk Rapids Rice if they played them. They beat Sartell, but then they struggled with some of the better teams, like Moorhead, Elk River, which, I mean, those are two of the best of 5A last year, so that makes sense. And then even though they beat Spring Lake Park in the regular season, they ended up falling to them in the playoffs, which we're going to get to here in a little bit. One of the things that really jumped out to me about Rogers, though, are the points for and against over here that I have. So they only scored 16.6 points a game, which, you know, just over 2 touchdown average a game. But they're also holding opponents to under 20 points a game, which is pretty darn solid. It's still a minus 1.2 point differential on average. But, I mean, that's still pretty awesome. We'll see how that translates into 6A, because, you know, especially being in the Metro North, you're going to face a lot of spread teams. Your Anokas, your Blaines, I think they match up with Coon Rapids. I don't remember if they match up with... No, they don't match up with Coon Rapids. I take that back. Their non-conference games are Egan and Moorhead week 1, funny enough. Let's talk about some of their rivals, though. I know one of the former rivals, after talking with their head coach this past spring, he's like, yeah, I really hope we get STMA on our schedule, because they used, back when Rogers was 5A, I want to say 2016 and prior to that, STMA was still a 5A team. I think they actually won the state title for 5A in 2015 against St. Thomas Academy. Then 2 years later, STMA was also a big, fast-growing community. They're up to 6A, and now I think they're one of the biggest schools in the state. Where's St. Michael Albertville? Yeah, they're up here. I think Egan, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. So they're in the top half of 6A enrollment, which, you know, they're the 14th biggest high school in the state. Not too shabby considering they were 5A just not even a decade ago. Like, wow. But yeah, and then obviously the other big one is their ISD728 rival, the Elk River Elks. So obviously you didn't get STMA on the schedule this time. You're not in the same division or section as STMA, so you're not likely going to run into them. Playoffs, maybe. It depends on a lot of the seeding. There's a lot of things that have to fall into place for that to happen. And Elk River, right, unless they come up or redraw boundaries in the next few years, I don't know if Elk River is going to make the jump. But who would their new rivals be? Moorhead, I guess, was always kind of one of their rivals. Moorhead sees Rogers as a rival. They play a lot pretty frequently in the 5A over the past few years. Are they going to clash with other Metro North teams? Because it's not like anyone else in their school district is going to be there. Like I said, Elk River's still in 5A. Zimmerman's 4A. You're not going to play either of your in-district, like, natural rivals. So who would they clash with in the Metro North? Their new division. Maybe Centennial. They're both physical teams, kind of run-heavy teams. They do it in different ways. I could see Blaine being a team because they both like to run the ball out of a spread offense. It's just that Blaine likes to go fast-paced, doesn't play all that good a defense, whereas Rogers is a lot more focused on the defense and can't really match that offensive output of Blaine. And another one that I thought might be an interesting new rivalry is Egan. Because I was thinking about when one door closes, another door opens. Like, think about the recent rivalries we've gotten in 6A that are kind of cross-district matchups, like Prior Lake and Forest Lake, or Rosemount and Centennial, the two repeat matchups we're getting in this current cycle. I think both of those are going to be pretty awesome, and maybe Rogers can turn around and do something like that with Egan here. Obviously it's hard to say, like, this early on. We haven't played a single football game. We're barely through the summer period yet, and we're actually coming up on the dead period, which is why I'm recording these videos before the dead week, so that we don't violate any Minnesota State High School League stature. Always nice. But yeah, I don't know who else Rogers would have as a rival. Maybe they'll have a good playoff game against somebody this coming season. We'll see. Low-res photo. This is head coach Mark Franz. Really good guy. I've got to meet him a few times. Defensive-minded guy. Sat in a clinic with him. Funny enough, the first time I met him, it wasn't this PowerPoint I had. It's another one I have that, like, scouts every team in 6A. And this is, like, before there were the announcements and everything. I was just going through and I was just preparing for Rogers, Andover, and Moorhead to be up here. And someone was sitting next to me, or, like, a few seats down from me at a clinic, and I had this slide up, and I was looking at him like, is that him? And then he comes over. He's like, that picture looks a little familiar. I'm like, uh-oh, that is him. Yes, funny little way you connect with people. But as two defensive guys, we hit it off pretty well. Some notable facts, though. He is a math teacher at Rogers High School. I believe he played defensive line at St. Cloud State. If not D-line, linebacker maybe. Somewhere on the defensive side of the ball for St. Cloud State. And Rogers High School has only been open since 2004, I believe. I want to say it might be a year older than Lakeville South. And he has been the only head coach in Rogers High School history, which is, like, nutty to think about. But hey, that's awesome. I don't know his overall record. I'm like, wow, that's a lot of data to sift through for this video. Maybe I'll go back and find that eventually. Playoff record is also a little bit tricky to find, especially with 5A. And I don't think Rogers has won any state titles, but I don't know what Coach Franz was doing before Rogers. So that I'm not entirely sure of either. All right, so now we're going to watch some Rogers film. I've talked before on some of my live streams that I couldn't find Rogers film on YouTube unless it was from another team that live streams, until I found a Rogers stream from 2022 where they were playing Coon Rapids. And funny enough, on that stream, it had a note saying, Rogers now streams games on Huddle TV. So sure enough, I followed the link, and there we are. Rogers High School football. And I was like, oh! Because I think another thing I was complaining about is I don't know why it's set to 9th grade football. Set that to, well, oops, go back, please. There we go. It's because I'm in Huddle view. I'd have to open that in a new tab. Because going back over here, I think I still have the pool open. We'll take a look at the 6A pool really fast. I'm pretty certain that no one else is watching. Yeah, well, of course. I'm the only one working overtime here. But if we go over to Rogers down here, they still have not added any film. Moorhead is not, and we'll get to Andover in a little bit. But let's watch some Rogers film. So this is actually their most recent playoff game. As I mentioned earlier, they beat Spring Lake Park in the regular season and then lost them in the first round of the playoffs. Mute the audio. We don't necessarily need to listen to fans. So Rogers is here in the all black with the blue helmets. Dude, I gotta say, that logo is actually really sick. It's almost like a cougar type logo. It just seems like, I don't know if majestic's the right word, but it's sweet. So they're playing against Spring Lake Park, who's in the white jerseys with the blue pants. Spring Lake Park is a triple option team, and oh, there you go. They have like a split back pistol formation here. All right, so what can we see from Rogers right away? They've got a safety stack down as your classic 3-4 defense. Looks like they walked up an inside linebacker over here, stacked another DB with corner behind him. If I had to guess, it's probably front three, two inside backers. This one's angled out a little bit. These are probably the two inside backers. That's a stacked safety, corner. And based on their positioning, it looks like they might be playing in cover two here. We'll see. I don't think they're going to play a traditional defense because remember, you are playing a triple option team. Maybe they're going to hit him with an inside veer right away. What does Spring Lake Park have? No, it's like a trap. Interesting. The one downside of Huddle TV is that it only skips in increments of 30 seconds. And I don't necessarily want to just rocket ahead 30 seconds into the film because then you might miss a play. Which normally you shouldn't with Spring Lake Park because they are a not flex bomb, but they're a triple option run heavy team. Like here we see similar formation. This time they're, instead of twins, they have one receiver each side. Still that 3-4 defense. It looks like the Rodgers still stacked a safety down because you have two safeties stacked inside. Unless they're playing a 5-3, which could be, I don't know. Ooh, that was nice. Who got penetration there? Little pre-snap shift. Looks like they're playing an over front here. That's the outside backer. D-line's playing a little bit high, but that was some pretty solid outside backer play. It's better than what I saw from Stillwater on a previous live stream. All right, this is a good time to gauge what an opponent might do. 3rd and 6. Spring Lake Park's a run-heavy team. Normally, well, 4th down is when you go with, like, your base defense. 3rd down here, which, again, it looks like they are playing an interesting variation of a 3-3 stack with true outside linebackers. So it's more like almost a 4-4 defense, but it's a 3-5 defense. Interesting. Oh, is there going to be a flag there? He fell down. Nope. Solid. All right. Rodgers gets the 3 and out to start, man. Let's get this punt going. Let's see some... Oh, ain't no way. All right. We got to go back. That's nasty. Oh, it's so nasty. How did they get caught off guard? No. That was a fake punt touchdown. Okay. Sorry, Rodgers. I got to give mad props to Spring Lake Park. The best time to call a fake punt is when it's least expected. The first drive of the game, going 3 and out, is extremely unexpected. And look at how lackadaisical... No, they're not even lackadaisical. They're all on the line ready to attack. How did this get off? They have one split out wide. They pull anybody? No. He literally just set the edge, and there was great receiver blocking. Oh, yeah, coach is down here not too happy with that. And then great move by the Spring Lake Park punt protector there. Wow. Oh, they even have a paw for the O in the end zone there for Royals. Well, dang. That is a bummer. Susceptible to getting tricked right off the bat. And they kick the extra point. All right, let's get a kick return here, and let's see some Royals offense. Is that a first down? No, that was probably the kickoff. Here we go. Now we're going to get some Rodgers offense. See what their offense is like. So they play a pretty stout 3-4 defense, as we saw. It took Spring Lake Park running a fake punt to trick Rodgers. But their technique was okay. I really like their linebacker play on those first few plays. The D-line was a little bit high, but the angles the linebackers took, the speed at which they filled out was pretty solid. So we're in an unbalanced spread offense. You have tight end H-back to the... No tight end. Just H-back to the top. You essentially have quads closed here. Spring Lake Park is running a sort of a 4-3 defense. That might be a stand-up end over there. Sliding around a bit. Ooh, power. Classic run play. Oh, yeah. Oh, if he cut that back a little bit more to the left, that would have been there. Ooh, you know what? Use... the speed. Put it at 1.25 or 2 times speed. Nice. Taking their time, so they do huddle. That is something to note. They're not using hand signals. They do a full huddle, which I think is good. Controls the pace of the game a little bit more, especially for a run-heavy team. All right, it looks like they're all reach blocking at the top. Maybe this is stretch or toss. Stretch. Oh, I want to see who pulled here. Is this going to be like an STMA stretch or an STMA toss out of spread where they pull a backside guard? It looked like play side pulled. Both guards pulled. It's like a buck sweep. Well, didn't quite get to the edge defender there. Might need to get in touch with Centennial about how to run buck sweep. Oh, well, I guess I skipped too far ahead. Next play happened within 30 seconds of the next one. Come on, Huddle TV. We got to get on top of that. So 3rd and 9. Obviously, Rogers is more of a run-heavy team. Trips into the boundary with a closed set. Split a receiver out wide. Ooh, you got one-on-one coverage out there. Oh, but and the route was there. It's a bummer. The snap was a little bit off. I like that route. You get your big kid. I think that kid might have been he's a pretty good tight end. I think he might be ranked, actually. You get your best player out in space against a little DB. It's a mismatch in favor of the offense. I like the play call. That actually is pretty smart. Good strategy. All right, let's see another drive of Royals defense. See if we can't get 2 drives of offense and defense for each of these teams. Oh, too far forward. All right, yep, we got to go back to this. Thankfully, the other games will not be using Huddle TV, so I won't have to worry about the 30-second skip arounds. Double time. Oh, wait a minute. That's 12 men in the huddle. All right, sure. So what do we got? We've got pistol split back again. Can't say I've ever seen this in 6A. I mean, Centennial has their double tight split backs, but they do it under center. And then, yeah, you get Marcus Whiting and Maverick Harper back there. It's a pretty nasty recipe for an offense. And they're running a Shakopee counter tray. Look at that. Huh. I guess even 5A teams take things from 6A. Oh, penalty on that one. Let's get to the next play. So we add a counter tray, which is funny because what happened before that? A buck sweep. It's like Centennial playing Shakopee. Just more out of spread looks instead of out of actual flex bone. I can't tell if this is a 3-3 stack or not. Did they go with a special 3-5 defense? Oh, Spring Lake Park bringing out the tricks. Quarterback or whoever that was fell down there on the rail route out of the backfield. All right, what do we got this time? Oh, unbalanced. Okay, center's here, tight end top, 3 backs. You still have your split backs plus a sniffer over there. And they just ran trap. Oh, nicely done. Who was that coming through for Rogers? Is that the nose guard? Or one of the ends? Also, interesting to note, as a D-line coach, you look at their stances. One, that's their tight end that I think is also playing left end, number 87. He's got a pretty long stance, as does this D-end. You can tell they've got way more weight on their hands. Whereas if you look at the nose guard, he's got more of a 50-50 spread here between hands and feet, which is what you see a lot more D-lines going to nowadays. You figure you don't have as long of strides, you get more steps in, you're not as prone to standing up straight. From what I've seen, especially Division I coaches and the college level, they all are starting to just switch over to more of a 50-50 D-line stance like that. So Rogers ahead of the game on that. Except D-line's playing a little bit high. Followed right through from the pulling guard, though. That's pretty nice. Oh, but you get walled off on the trap. Okay. You get walled off on trap, and then what happened after that? Oh, well, I'm dumb, of course, because he gets walled off. It's trap. Yeah, it's weird. It's like they just forgot to block the outside backer. Normally when you run a trap play like that, you've got someone to kind of fake out that outside backer, but Rogers' linebackers are pretty well disciplined. They do a great job tracking the ball. And this is another 3-and-out for Rogers. And sure enough, Spring Lake Park actually punts this time. So let's rewind here a bit. Let's see some more Rogers offense. Ooh, a pistol spread. 11 personnel. But if you think about it, they did the one pass on 3rd and long. Otherwise, they always set up their run on 1st down. Jet sweep or zone? Zone. See, this is like what I was talking about with Hopkins a while ago, how they would put the running back on this side, and then when you do the jet fake, you know that the jet can't get the football because the running back's not in position to lead block. But with the running back and pistol, you can do anything out of that. I have no idea which way he's going pre-snap. Because if you motion this way, he could lead block out that way. He could come out this way, counter back that way. You could just spin around and have him go that way. There's literally endless possibilities. You can even step up and pass protect. Like, there's so much you can do out of pistol. The only drawback is that your running back is at 7 yards depth instead of 5, so it takes him a little bit longer to get back to the line of scrimmage. But on the other hand, as we'll see with one of our later teams, that gives you more time to let the blocks develop before the running back hits the point of attack. Oh, speaking of point of attack, we completely missed a pull around there. Whiffed on that backer. Rodgers is kind of reminding me of like a toned down Rosemount from last season, where very good defensive team, but they just don't quite seem to have offense going. Maybe they don't practice it as much. Like, at least with Rosemount, you can look at them and say, okay, your playbook is way too big and you don't have an offensive identity, and that's why you struggle. How do you practice the million things you run on offense? Well, you don't. You're masters of none of them. Whereas here with Rodgers, we really haven't seen them run too much, like, that wide a variety of plays. Seems to be pretty consistent. GH counter. Nope, power again. They love power. They keep going back to it. Oh, play action off power. Was this an RPO? All right, I need to go back and see this. There's no way Rodgers just threw an RPO. If it is, watch our second level D-gap defender out here, which is the safety. What does he do? He attacks. That might actually have been an RPO from Rodgers. Oh. Oh. I mean, it's a smart read, but a tall kid managed to get in the way, interrupted the throwing lane. All right, I missed the fourth down play. Huddle TV strikes once again. They went empty. So they love running the ball, but they only do it out of spread formations. Kind of like, and the one interesting thing, we haven't really seen the quarterback run. Like, if you think of a team that has a successful spread offense run game, like Blaine, for example, they may not have the best double teams at the point of attack, but Sam Shaughnessy was incredible in space, and it just added a whole nother layer to their offensive attack. When the quarterback is able to run the football, that's another variable that defenses have to account for. Whereas, like, say you play, I don't know if Mason West is the best example. He's more of a pocket passer, still pretty athletic kid. But maybe Riley Grossman from Lakeville North, not the fastest. He's a great play action, great pocket passer, but he's just not a downhill runner like this. When you do have a kid that's a downhill runner, yeah, which is what it looks like Rodgers tried to do here. They're calling a quarterback draw out of empty personnel. So why did the empty personnel quarterback draw not work? Well, take a look at Spring Lake Park's defense. So as we've said, Spring Lake Park is playing a 4-3 defense a la Centennial. So hey, Rodgers already knows how to play a 4-3 defense against a flexbone team. Funny enough, Coach Littlefield from Centennial, I think, went to Spring Lake Park High School. So there you go. More Centennial connections. And I can see why. Look at all the space over the middle. Oh my goodness. No wonder they wanted to run quarterback draw. And the hole is there. The only problem is that's an inside linebacker. Your mismatch is in the pass game with a slot receiver on an inside linebacker. As soon as you try running the ball, now you're trying to have a slot receiver block an inside linebacker. General rule of thumb, that matchup usually is a mismatch in favor of the defense, not the offense. Oh, and it doesn't help that he runs right by him and goes to hit a safety. Meanwhile, number 7 does nothing. And look who ends up making the tackle. That exact inside linebacker. Nicely done, Spring Lake Park inside linebacker. Rodgers, question, why did we not block on the quarterback draw? So yeah, I mean, honestly, we're kind of seeing what we saw with the general stats of Rodgers. Pretty solid defense. They've held him to 2 3-and-out drives. Spring Lake Park had to score on a punt, or on a fake punt. Meanwhile, the offense just cannot get anything going. They've also had 2 3-and-outs. So, I mean, if that's any, I don't know. It's not like the Metro North has the most revered defenses, but Centennial, awesome elite 6A defense. Champlain Park, definitely underrated. They average less than 20 points a game, and they play a pretty physical brand of football. Anoka was pretty good last year, but then you get to teams like Coon Rapids, Osseo, or Blaine. I don't know. Just probably not the same degree of competition you're going to get, as opposed to, like, playing in the Metro West, where you have a Minnetonka, a Maple Grove defense, or even the Metro South, where you have to play like Rosemount or Lakeville North, Lakeville South, or Shakopee. Like, a lot of good defenses in the Metro South this coming season. Ooh. It does look like they're playing a 3-3 stack with 2 outside backers. They're playing a 3-5 package into Spring Lake Park. That must be specific to this opponent. Oh, and they hit him with a quick pass. Oh, dude, he mossed him. He just went right over the top. Look at that tight end catch. We got to watch that again. Are they just man coverage? But then who are these two on? The outside backers look like they're just attacking every play. 1, 2, 3, except this play. He goes out there, at least to cover the flat. You get a little bit of a wheel route. Safety picks him up. Ooh, we get a crossing pattern. He went down here. Meanwhile, he went up there. Yeah. Spring Lake Parks. Oh, here we go. Now we got a triple option play up next. Here we go. This is the one we want to watch. And obviously, we're not going to get the full picture of what Rogers or any of these teams do just from these first, like, 2 or 3 drives. But we're not going to get the whole picture. You just kind of want to get a brief taste of what these teams are going to be like in 6A. That was more of like a load option. Lead block. Skill position blocking makes big plays. That 100% got the touchdown right there. Oh, my goodness. What a move. All right, I got to watch it again. Also, kind of weird the quarterback's number is 21. Not a common quarterback number there, is it? Oh, yeah, I don't know about that one. Were they unbalanced? No, they're not. It's a balanced formation. They did do a little, like, spin cycle motion. Safety's late getting over there, and then he over-pursues. No one else can fill. That's tough. You know, maybe that's the way to get down. And once Rogers is down 14-0, it doesn't seem like they're a team that can really come back from behind. So it'll be interesting to see how they match up with some of those Metro North 5A teams that are scoring high-powered offenses, like the team we're going to get into next. Yeah, I guess it depends. If Rogers can dominate time of possession, kind of like Centennial does against a lot of those Metro North teams, I think Rogers will be okay. But if their offense is constantly going 3 and out and they're not chewing up game clock, tires out their defense, they get down, like, say they're down 14 to Blaine, Anoka, or I guess Champlain Park for that matter, probably not too high a chance they're coming back. So, yeah, I think that's probably my biggest takeaway with Rogers. Really good defense, solid defensive game planning. Offense, the scheme is there, just got to work on the execution. Like we said, that power that we saw, sort of there, but also sort of not quite. So, next team up on our list is Andover. Much like Rogers, they're also in Section 5, also joining the Metro North District this season, and their enrollment is 1,642. I put 30th, but it's honestly tied for 30th/31st with Forest Lake High School. Those two are tied for the smallest school in 6A football. Obviously, minus Coon Rapids, who is moving up. So, outside of a team that voluntarily moved up, they're technically the smallest. So, give them an overview. Andover, their mascot is, or I guess is the Huskies. Mascot, Huskies. Colors, black and gold. Last season, they were 6-2 in 5A. I think their only losses were they had that absolutely nutty shootout against Robbinsdale Armstrong, week 8 of the regular season, where I think it was overtime or double overtime, 57-56 they lost. And then week 1, they had a comeback defeat at the hands of St. Thomas Academy. So, you know, pretty solid 5A teams they lost to, not too shabby. If you look at their previous playoff run, I believe they beat Sauk Rapids Rice in the first round, but then Elk River got the revenge on them. Andover beat Elk River earlier in the season, but then Elk River strikes back in the playoffs and makes it over to state. Huskies eliminated, kind of like Alexandria did to Moorhead, who we'll get to in a little bit. But looking at their points for and against, obviously almost 40 points a game. That would have been good for second in 6A this past season, behind only Maple Grove. And it's not behind, I think Maple Grove was only like 40.1 points a game or something like that. And then Lakeville South was second with 36 points a game. So offense, yeah, Andover knows offense. The problem, though, is if you look next to that, 26.2 points per game given up. That is almost a 4-touchdown average of points you're giving up. And I get that some of those stats are bloated because you have your shootouts with Elk River, you have a shootout with Robbinsdale Armstrong, but should you be having all these shootouts? Like, obviously, you have a great high-powered offense, but should we be questioning where all the stops are coming from? Or I guess are not coming from? Which we'll get to when we start to watch some of their film. If we look down below that, their former rival, which, I mean, this has been well documented, Andover and Elk River do not like each other. They constantly match up, and every time they do, it's just absolute all-out gun show. Fireworks are lighting up the scoreboard. Nobody can stop anybody because both teams are just so different in how their offense is run. You've got the Power T, which Andover just doesn't seem to understand how the Power T works. And you've got Andover with the Star Wars Lightspeed offense that Elk River's like, what's a spread? So yeah, it's just kind of like two different worlds colliding that just don't really know how the other operates. But this is another case, and I think I talked with Caleb about this when Andover was moving up to 6A. It's like, well, you miss out on that great Andover-Elk River rivalry. Well, where one door closes, another opens. Sure, you don't get to play Elk River anymore, but now you get to play the rest of the Anoka-Hennepin schools. Andover's going to play Blaine, Anoka, Champlain Park, and Coon Rapids next season. All 4 of their district rivals that they have not played since, I want to say, like 2016. It's probably been that long. Last time Rogers played STMA, actually. So, yeah, it's been a while since either of these teams have played a 6A game. But I think there's a lot of potential. You know, I heard either Coach DeVellis or maybe it was Coach Wastrick at Anoka talking about the Battle of A-Town between Anoka and Andover. That could be a potential new rivalry brewing. You got 2 great offensive-minded coaches. Both played, I guess, technically O-line at the U of M. We'll get to that in a second. And then the other rival, which I'm kind of hoping pans out, is Centennial. You know, you think about Elk River, team whose colors are red, white, and black, run-heavy offense, and you're the antithesis of them. Same thing with 6A now. You've got Centennial, the triple option, flex bone, run heavy, grinded out, like tough 4-3 physical defensive team against your Star Wars Lightspeed offense, high scoring. It's basically you're just getting rid of Elk River and swapping them for Centennial. And I think they match up week 5 of the regular season. It's either week 4 or week 5. That's going to be an awesome game, and I really hope that turns into a rivalry. You've got Coach Littlefield trying to carve up the Huskies' defense, trying to keep that offense off the field. You got Coach Diggins Jr. coming up with a defensive game plan. How is he going to run a 4-3 defense into that Andover Star Wars spread offense? Yeah, that's going to be an awesome matchup. I cannot wait for that one. Let's talk about the head coach. You have Coach Tom DeVellis over here. As I mentioned, he's an offensive-minded coach. He actually played offensive line at the University of Minnesota. So, fellow Gopher, just as myself. During the day, he is a math teacher over at Andover High School. He's been the head coach over at Andover for 5 years. I think prior to that, he was over at Blaine High School. He actually got his start at Blaine High School under Dave Nelson before Coach Nelson took over at Minnetonka. I don't know what his playoff record is, and obviously it's kind of hard to track the record when you've gone between a few different schools. I don't know if he's won a state title. But I think he started off like 19 or 20-0 when he first took over Andover in 2020. They were undefeated the COVID year. They made a run all the way up to like the state semi or something in 2021. So, yeah, clearly Andover's doing a lot of things right, especially on the offensive side of the ball, as we saw from their points per game. I guess that is concerning, though. When you look at 38.4 points per game, you probably expect a little higher point differential than 12.2, which is just under 2 touchdowns for leads. But as we said, Andover defense might leave a little bit to be desired. So we're going to go watch some film, and this one, I actually can go to my regular huddle because Andover was gracious enough to upload their week 1 matchup versus St. Thomas, into the huddle or the 6A pool. So we got film to watch. Wonderful stadium they have here, just like all the other Anoka-Hennepin schools, although I imagine the press box might not be the best. That's kind of a running theme with the Anoka-Hennepin schools. But Andover's down here in the all black with the gold numbers and that nice Husky logo. St. Thomas Academy is in the all white with the navy kind of dark blue helmets. So we're going to get a look at the Andover 3-4 defense first. So if you notice, very similar to Rogers, both outside backers are stacked tight up on the line. You already have pre-snap stemming movement, kind of like Stillwater or Mounds View does from the defensive line. And it looks like they're just playing a standard 3-4 defense. You have a 3-by-1 set over here, and it looks like because it's empty, they cheated a safety down to that side, corner safety on that side. It looks like they might be playing a cover 3 here. Run-heavy team. Decent slant. Would like to see the top side defensive end there slant a little bit better into that. He kind of took, kind of pinched it inside. This almost looks like a pinch technique, but then 57 just kind of runs upfield the left end. Yeah, it's a little bit aggressive. They didn't scrape down the line when they were left unblocked. So you can see right away, like just as a defensive guy, that pings in my head like, hey, that's a defensive technique that could be improved upon. Maybe that's part of Andover's defensive woes. Let's see. So you have another heavy personnel. You have 3 down linemen, 2 outside backers on the line. This time, safeties are split to a piece. I guess they could run a cover 4 here if they wanted to, but against a formation like that, you're probably not thinking pass. Oh, a rocket toss. Oh, look at this safety fill. Nice job by number 6. Oh, he doesn't quite get there. Corner's able to pursue, though. I'm liking the DB play. If number 6 just took a little bit better angle here. Also, why is number 3 dropping back? Look at this. It's a toss right here, and he's backpedaling. Do we see any receiver routes? That is not a pass route right there. Just pointing that out. Faster read. And he does eventually get over there. So, yeah, pretty solid adjustment. Oh, look at all the kids clapping on the sideline. That's a good sign of culture down here. Look at it along the bottom. See that along the sideline at the bottom? That's pretty nice to see. All those kids celebrating and everything. Just shows good culture, and they're engaged in the game. We love to see that. All right, 3rd and short, though. It's only 3rd and 5. This is a big 1, 2, 3. Oh, my bad. It's 3rd and 4. Big money down. Get your defense off the field. Get that light speed offense on the field. Are they going to play cover 4? Do they have a blitz dialed up? It's that empty set again. They're not stacked to the 3. I guess there's not a 3 receiver side this time because you have tight end technically unbalanced. And so this is a legal formation in Minnesota. For those that haven't noticed, there actually are 8 men on the line of scrimmage. Well, actually, no, because if you look at the official here, he's saying off. That means this receiver's off, so I take that back. Don't jump off sides. Whoa, what is this? Fake toss, quarterback dive? Oh, no, it was there too. 57 stayed low, splits the double team. What's the gap assignment here, though? It looks like, oh, you know what? Look, safety over pursues going across, inside linebackers over pursue going across, and the quarterback's able to just cut back in the wash. Oh, where was the downfield blocking? If the slot back is able to get a piece right here, if he can just block that safety, then that's a touchdown. Look at the safety. He gets a little wrong arm here. He slips, but he's able to get right over there and trip up the quarterback to save a touchdown. That's good effort. I love the hustle from Andover. All right, back at it. Fresh set of downs. I formation this time. Maybe St. Thomas is a little bit too much going on the offensive side of the ball. Oh, power. You can just see that guard's coming around. He's looking inside there. You're going to get a kick out there. And he's going to run right in between. Oh, yeah, that's classic power. The kick-out block was not there. And look at the fill from the inside linebacker from Andover here. I don't know if they read pull. It looks like number 7 didn't read pull. He should be scraping over because his guard pulled. Pull opens right up. 25. I mean, funny enough, there is actually a nice double team at the point of attack right here from St. Thomas. The tight end and tackle get a great double team, but they don't. Oh, and he does get up to opposite backer. So the guard was supposed to take this other inside backer. It looks like he just pulled around too wide. Oh, and look at that. That's almost like a centennial fill. Boom. Stops him right at the line of scrimmage and drives him back. Yes, sir. Way to be hyped. Once again, look at all the clapping down there from the sideline. They're engaged. Coach DeVellis himself. I think that's Coach DeVellis is right in the middle of everything. Oh, yeah. All right. 2nd and 9. Back in this empty set. What are we doing, St. Thomas? You're like a flex bone without the fullback. Or we're going to pass. Hitch. No, a screen. Sneaky. It's like a slot back tunnel screen. Oh, way to block shed. Look at this. Inside linebacker realizes what it is. He actually wrong arms the giant offensive lineman coming downfield. Look at this wrong arm technique right here. Look, cool. Wrong arms him, blocks, sheds, pursues, wraps up, and makes the tackle and secures it. I'm loving that inside backer play for Andover, man. That's pretty nutty. Defensive line play I'm not as big on, but secondary and linebackers, I got to say, pretty solid. That was kind of the same with Rogers. I was kind of confused by Rogers. Rogers DB play wasn't the best, but their linebacker play was pretty awesome. But yeah, I haven't necessarily been too big on either of the D lines. I guess that is one thing that everyone says is different about 6A compared to the lower classes is, the line play on both sides of the ball, because 6A has way bigger kids. It's like, do we, though? I mean, every school has big kids. Hutchinson, 4A team, they got nonstop big kids. Cass and Manorville, 4A, also has a lot of big kids. I mean, sure, like, obviously, when you're in, like, a big suburb in the metro, like Plymouth, for example, you go into Wayzata High School, well, you got 3,500 kids. You're going to have a higher chance of getting a big kid when you just have that many more kids. But that's not to say that other schools don't get big kids. Unless you're Bloomington Jefferson when I was there. We never really got those big lineman-type kids. Or if we did, they just weren't playing football. They call trap here? Oh, Lord, it's another bad trap. Look at this. Why does trap not work? Similar to Rosemount, there's no double team at the point of attack. In fact, look closely at the center here on this trap. He ignores the nose guard that you need to drive out to make the trap work. There's no double team at the point of attack. The guard can't handle it. I actually got to give the nose guard credit here. He's fighting half a man. He's not engaging with the center. He sort of is using a rip move, and then he leans right into the tackle. And once again, this linebacker for Andover, I'm loving. Is that 56 or 58? Look at the way he fills. He reads it right away. He sees the pull. He's like, I'm going to get right in there. I think he wrong arms another blocker. So the center not only doesn't get the double team, he also misses the linebacker that he's supposed to get at the next level. You can't run trap if you don't get a double team at the point of attack. We saw Rosemount mess that up. We saw Lakeville North mess that up. And now here's St. Thomas Academy, which, again, it's a run-heavy team. St. Thomas is old school. They love running the football. So to see them, I guess, making like that big of a mistake, like, I guess a critical mistake, because trap does not work without that double team at the point of attack. Kind of an odd thing to see. New Age punt formation. Here we go. We're about to see Andover Star Wars offense. Ooh, letting the ball roll back. Would have loved to see them fair catch that, but I guess if your offense can score 40 points a game, you're not too worried about that. 11 personnel, classic spread offense. Looks like sidecar this time as opposed to Rogers, who was doing a little bit more pistol. You have probably your Y receiver out here. Some teams call it Y off, but most spread terminology says that's an H back. Z receiver would be there, and our buddy the X is probably out there. And then running back here. Ooh, unbalanced. Z and Y are both on the line. X comes in motion across the backside. And this is what's the beautiful part about H and R on the same side. Now there's a threat of a jet sweep going this way. There's the threat of GH counter coming back this way. You can even run quarterback GH counter. If you do carry out the running back with the fake there, you get the linebackers to flow with the running back. And then quarterback GH counter back the other way. Because Andover will run the quarterback. And I think, is it Pemberton is going to be the quarterback this season? No, I think Chase Pemberton graduated. I don't remember who their quarterback's going to be this season, but I hear he's definitely more of a running quarterback. I think he filled in with Hudson Maynard was the other one this past season. Oh, here we go. Andover speed option. Also, I should have seen this beforehand. Look at what St. Thomas is playing. They're breaking out a 2-4 nickel. Look at how wide the outside linebacker is from the defensive tackle and the 2 technique. Like, huh? I mean, you're giving them the C and the D gap and essentially almost the B gap if you get a double team right there to wash him down and he gets up to backer. You can almost do like an outside veer and a speed option out of that. But it's really weird they're calling that into 11 personnel, not 10 personnel. This is what I always say about 11 personnel. It puts defenses in a pickle. Do you play your base 3-4 or 4-3 defense and risk a mismatch of a slot receiver on an outside linebacker? Or do you go to a nickel package and then risk a mismatch or a lack of numbers in the box in the run game, especially against a team that has a running quarterback like Andover. Yeah, when I know that it's more of a running quarterback instead of a passing, like Blaine, for example, Anoka got away with it, but they were smart with how they played their 2-4 nickel. They had each of the nickel/safety on the edge there so that they could cheat in the outside backer. Those four would always pressure. And then if Blaine, because Blaine likes to run quarterback stretch or lead to the outside, or not stretch, like QB speed op. I don't know if they did a lot of speed options. Like more so QB lead out to the wide side or running back stretch. They love those two. But anytime they did that, then the nickel and the safety would come up and they contain the edge way out wide. So, Anoka had a real good game plan. But this, I don't know what St. Thomas's game plan is. Because if you look, you've got 5 DBs all spread out in a weird pattern. This inside backer is a little bit wide. There's really just not that many men left in the box. You're giving Andover the run all day. And see... And they don't even know how to play the speed option. So if he's taking the pitch man, who's taking the quarterback? The inside backer? Well, he's blocked. Well, okay, you could argue that he's hugged, but that's solid downfield blocking. That's a first down Andover. All right, if St. Thomas keeps giving them that 2-4 nickel, I would not be surprised if Coach DeVellis keeps going with the ground game here. Ooh, unbalanced out of 11 personnel. Kind of like we saw with Rogers. H-back is on this side with the 3 receivers. You got a quads open look or quads closed look. Fake. Oh, no, it's a regular toss. But look, unlike Blaine, they're not trying to get out wide. Notice how the tackle or the H-back is trying to do like a kick out here. And the guard pulled around, tackle blocked down. And it looks like it could go wide. But there's also a running lane here if the defense over pursues. Oh, look at the run. He's finding his running lane. That's actually nutty. He follows the blocks. He sees the block here, so he cuts it back inside. Oh, no. He fumbled, didn't he? I think that ball's out. He might have been down. When is the ball? No, the ball, you can see right here in this clip. It looks like the football's out. Yeah, and he's not down yet. Oh, that's a bummer. That was a great run, too. Dang. Okay, ooh, I like this. So even though they just turned the ball over, this is how the sign of a great coach. Watch Coach DeVellis come in here from the right side. He's saying, hey, nice job. We're still in it. We're all good. Come on off. That's positivity. That's leadership right there, man. That's something you love to see. I mean, Andover's offensive play calling was fantastic. They're like, all right, you're going to give us a 2-4 nickel. We're going to analyze it, and we're just going to keep running at the weak spot of your 2-4 nickel, which, as you saw, their outside linebackers, for some reason, were insanely wide compared to the 2 techniques, and they just ran in between that gap on both sides. Interesting choice there, St. Thomas. Which is weird, because didn't St. Thomas win this game? Making reads on defense, safety stacked down. Looks like you're getting a cover 3 look here. Play action power. Ooh, got a tip. Nice, because I think they actually drop back into more of a cover 4 look here. My guess is that if they are playing a true cover 3 and he's attacking, kind of like what I said Forest Lake should do, he's probably supposed to stay in the flat. You have your hook to curl there. Although they're blitzing 7, so, and then these 2 fall back. I don't know. It's interesting. It's like they attack and then drop back into coverage. Which makes sense against St. Thomas, run-heavy team. It looks like they're definitely playing the run first, which opens up a possibility for play-action attack. But if St. Thomas can't get the pass off, then you got nothing to worry about. Or, okay. Have you run any play other than rocket toss out of the orbit motion? No. And you didn't do a fake rocket toss. Like, think about when Shakopee does this. When they have an orbit motion, they do fake toss out that way, then quarterback rolls out that way, because rocket toss sets up waggle. The plays look similar, but this doesn't look like rocket toss. It's just an orbit motion with a straight drop back. And then you threw a hitch too high. And you can sort of see the outside backer here. He's like, I'm going to attack. Oh no, I got to get back into the flat. He didn't quite get over there. He was looking back at the quarterback. It looks like he's supposed to be a flat defender, but it's so hard to get out there when you're lined up on the line of scrimmage. Also, there's only guard tackle here. This is an unbalanced formation. As soon as he goes in motion, and now there's only one out there, I'd almost like to see him back off a little bit so he can get over to the flat. I mean, how many teams love the backside hitch, especially when you need to pick up a decent chunk of yardage? Make third down a little more manageable. All right, so now it's 3rd and 10 St. Thomas. You know, I'm actually kind of impressed with Andover's defense. I don't know how they're giving up over 20 points a game, or almost 4 touchdowns a game, especially how they're playing one of the better teams in 5A. Ooh, left tackle jumped. Maybe it's just a product of their offense. Their offense scores so quickly, their defense just doesn't get enough rest. Another thing I haven't really paid attention to is, does Andover have any kids that are playing both ways? I know that obviously they're the smallest 5A school, or smallest 6A school outside of Coon Rapids, but if you look down at their sideline, it's way bigger than St. Thomas's just in terms of raw number of kids. I mean, look at how many kids they have. They got like 2 or 3 rows deep over here. Then again, St. Thomas is pretty big too, but it's a private school. You pay there to play football. Maybe they got their 9th grade team and their 10th grade teams over there. Who knows? Stick? 3rd and 20, and you choose to run stick. Let's see if the outside linebacker stays in the flat this time. Looks like they have a plug. It's not even a plug. They don't bring 4. Does he drop back in coverage? They end up blitzing an inside backer, so essentially you should have flat, hook. He should be over there, and then you got 4 deep. Or if they wanted to stack a safety down, but they're not going to do that. They want to play deep 4 against, obviously, 3rd and 20. I just don't understand a 5 and out on 3rd and 20. I also am not a fan of number 4's footwork here. If you look, where's he step? He goes shimmy, shimmy inside, which is his run read. Normally, it's just 1 step. Take 1 step, then you realize, okay, that's not run, that's pass. Let me drop back into my flat. He seems to be playing it more diagonally, almost like he's a seam defender as opposed to getting into the flat. That's something I've noticed consistently about the outside linebackers. Maybe they don't, I mean, then again, do you really care if St. Thomas completes a 5 and out on 3rd and 20? I guess not. They're just going to punt the ball. Which, here we go. They punt the ball. Let's get some more Andover offense back out here. This is one of the... Wait a minute. Yeah, the St. Thomas kid here just jumped. He shifted over 2 spaces after he was set. Oh, yeah, there's a coach down here for Andover that's like, dude, what was that? Another kid over here moved his feet. Yeah, see, what? Huh? This might be the strangest punt I've ever done on the Coach Lantz channel, and that was almost blocked. Solid pressure. Fair catch. Secures it. Nice. That's a confident punt returner right there with St. Thomas defenders bearing down on you. All right, St. Thomas is still running the 2-4 nickel. Once again, look at how wide the gap is. How much you want to bet they're just going to do like a quarterback run right there? Dude, okay. Give Andover a lot of credit. They do see what their opponents are giving them, and they will take it every time. That's why their offense is so high scoring. Now that I'm seeing it in person, I think this is Coach DeVellis over here. He's just monitoring the whole situation. Like, all right, if that's what you're going to give me, I'm going to take it. Oh, could have had better downfield blocking, especially because, I mean, look at this. You have, is that the H-back? You have an H-back and a pulling guard double teaming an inside linebacker, and we miss him. Oh my god! If we get the double team here, only one of you needs to get up to mess with one of the safeties, probably that safety, and the quarterback's gone. Oh, that could have been a big play. Downfield blocking makes big plays, man. Ooh, ice call. Okay, breaking out the wise. You know what? Brain blast. I would not be surprised if Andover is doing ice calls like this to help analyze the defense. Notice that the outside linebackers for St. Thomas both tightened up here, which is weird because you've got 10 personnel now instead of 11. So the nickel package makes a little bit more sense. And they just ran speed option up the middle again. Again, wait, what's the weakness of a 2-4 defense? Running up the middle or inside run game. And sure enough, Andover's like, all right, we'll take the inside run game. And it's funny. It's not like they're pulling plays out of nowhere like Prior Lake does. Like, oh, you're going to give me cover 3? Well, I'm going to switch to a spread offense and run verts, even though our supposed identity is the wing T. They're like, no, we just stick to our base offense here at Andover, but we just choose plays to specifically attack any point of the defense based on what they're going to give us. And in this case, St. Thomas is giving them the inside run. Look at this again. You've got all 5 DBs in a swath over to the unbalanced quad side. You only got 6 men in the box. Like what? Against 6 blockers, a running back, and a quarterback. The offense has an 8-on-6 advantage in the box. Andover has to run the football here. It'd be wild if they didn't. Yeah, see, and look at that. They're just gashing St. Thomas. And, you know, everyone thinks, oh, Andover's light-speed offense, they got to be passing the ball a lot. No, they are not necessarily all run, all pass, balanced attack. As from what I'm seeing, they will analyze what you are giving them, and they will take that every time. It's the same thing. Look here, 2-4 nickel. The only difference, now they're actually stacking the safety down. Not that it made too much of a difference. Also, look at is this the left tackle here? Oh yeah, nice double team, and he keeps pushing him down. I think 55 was supposed to block somebody else. He helps seal the double team at the point of attack, but you would have loved to see one of them get off to the backer or to that stacked safety to really make this work. Oh, funny enough, Andover is getting double teams at the point of attack. Just got to be able to pull around and hit somebody downfield. They're so close to ripping off big ones. But again, think about just how methodically they're marching down the field, all run plays, all taking what St. Thomas is giving them, which St. Thomas is still giving them a 2-4 nickel. And look, our buddy up here, maybe it's when they have an H-back, he just gets so wide. I mean, he's not even playing like a wide 7. He's playing a wide 9 as if there was a 4th offensive lineman out there, another skill position next to him. Ooh. Tackle H-back counter? Is this a new play? TH counter? Instead of GH counter, it's TH counter. That's a new one. Oh, look at the running back counter motion there. Oh, nasty. Downfield blocking. Oh, he's following his blocker too. I would have loved to see the H-back. See how the H-back pity pats his feet here instead of attacking? If he just straight up attacks, especially if he takes inside shoulder. Actually, you know what would be better here? Since the blocks are developing, if he took outside shoulder, drove him that way, running back bounces outside, you get a block here. Now it's a foot race with that safety in space. He's going to have to take an angle to come get you. Yeah, that would have been another touchdown Andover. They do got really good schemes. Just got to work on downfield blocking drills a little bit, and then I think they'll be even. Well, I guess they don't need to work on downfield blocking drills because they're already scoring 40 points a game. But maybe with downfield blocking, they could score 60 a game. Who knows? Another dive play where it's not even like a true dive. The tackle blocks down and the guard pulls around to the outside, but he doesn't hit the edge defender. He hits the next man inside. It's actually a really solid quarterback run play that's like disguised as an option. And they do use hand signals, so that's another thing. I have not been mentioning how quickly Andover's been snapping the ball. They've been snapping the ball within like 20 to 25 seconds of every play. They are a fast-paced, up-tempo offense. Like, if you think about it, we've watched how many drives now? And we're not even 7 minutes into the first quarter. Like, by play 24, when I did the Eden Prairie Wayzata game, we were already in the second quarter by this point. Same thing with Centennial Rosemount, well into the second quarter. But here, no. That's not how it works with Andover. I mean, we could get another, like, 20 plays before we just make it to the second quarter. Ooh, oh no, they run bubble just like Anoka or Blaine or Osseo do. Teams, you can't run bubble like that. And also, this is a weird time to call bubble. Normally you call bubble when you're getting like an off cover 4, cover 3. You got tight man coverage and it's 3rd and 1. Huh? Why are we calling a bubble into that? Like, sure, you've got numbers, but you're basically telling both these receivers, you have to win the one-on-one block right here. And also, the receiver's backpedaling. So even if he did catch this ball, look, he's not in position. He'd have to turn his whole shoulders, turn his hips out here, and then reverse the direction of his hips to get back going upfield. Because he's backpedaling, you got to reverse and start running forward. It just, yeah. Teams need to stop backpedaling on bubble screens. You need to turn hips, run down the line with torso open, then you can just catch, round it off. It's just like running a wheel route at that point. Like, the back pedal bubble needs to go away. Also, there's a flag there. Is there like a face mask or something? Oh, holding. Oh, do you take the holding? Interesting, they accepted the holding instead of allowing Andover to have a 4th and short. Probably smart in hindsight. There's another ice call. I think they are doing what Wyzetta does, where they ice the defense to see how they're lined up and then pinpoint them and hit them with the sauce. There's no way it's GH counter. It's got to be a pass play. 3rd and long. Oh, he had all day. Oh, missed the pass. It was really well covered. I think something might have been wrong here because both the receivers essentially ended up in the same spot. It was supposed to be a bit of a crossing pattern, which makes sense against the man coverage, but nope. Turned out to be zone coverage, so really well disguised by St. Thomas. Quarterback had all day to throw, though. That was a real nice speed out or sprint out protection here. Washing the defensive or the outside backer down. He completely lost contain, which I don't understand how you do when you're that wide. Like, huh? Oh, because he went out into pass coverage. That's why. That was real sneaky. That was a defensive end that got washed, or the defensive tackle. All right. St. Thomas gets a pass. That was pretty creative on 3rd and long. And there's the punt formation. I'm surprised that Andover hasn't scored yet. Then again, St. Thomas is a very good defensive team. Oh, so they do run waggle? What? St. Thomas. St. Thomas. You can't do a fake rocket toss into the boundary. No one's going to think you're running toss into the boundary. I guess unless you're... Look at this. They drop in a pass coverage. He's in pass coverage. He's in pass coverage. No one was fooled by that. Other than this, even that defensive... is that the outside backer? No. Number 4 number 4 eventually realizes to get out into coverage, and he ends up walking. Oh my goodness! If number 4 stays in the flat right here, I think he decides to drop into man coverage for some reason. If he just stays in his zone, he's got a pick 6 right here. Look at this. You have an out route, just stay in your zone. And if it's zone coverage, why are you looking that way? In zone, your eyes are on quarterback size, and the quarterback is that way. Yeah, okay, now I'm starting to see some of the cracks in the Andover armor. They play with a lot of good hustle, but scheme-wise, or maybe more so technique-wise, it seems like they're not quite there. Okay, 2nd and long. St. Thomas hates this. I don't think they're going to go back to another comeback. Watch them run rocket toss to the wide side of the field now after they just did waggle. No way, ain't no way. Oh, it was belly, sneaky. But why did belly not work here? Look at the penetration. This is a great job by Andover's nose guard. I don't like the strong side defensive end. He's playing way too high. Nose guard's nice and low, taking half a man. Backside D end is low, taking half a man. And look at how he scraped down the line. That was actually really good defensive line play from Andover. Nose guard completely muddied up. The inside got penetration. And the backside defensive end scraped down the line of scrimmage and made the tackle. That was really good teamwork. And then the backer comes up to fill. Ooh, ripping helmets off. All right. Like I said, the hustle for Andover is undeniable. They got good hustle. And now it's 3rd and 10. St. Thomas picking up a first down on 3rd and 10. Screen. Oh, our buddy 56 got blocked in the back there. But I think they just played their base defense, didn't they? Did they blitz anybody? No, both outside backers kicked back. They played it real safe. I mean, it's solid. Were they cover 4 there? Yep. All right, so I mean, pretty typical of a 3-4 defense. A lot of cover 4. What was that kid's name on the scoreboard? Jaden Sits. Jaden Sits. If only he would sit in the flat, he could have had a pick 6 a few plays ago. I like that name. He's got good hustle. All of Andover's kids seem to have really good hustle. They must do a lot of conditioning up there in Andover, especially with their high-speed offense. Another nice punt return catch. Look at this. This kid is not afraid of anything. Signals for the fair catch, goes all the way up into traffic to secure the ball. That's awesome. All right, let's get one more Andover on possession on offense here. Hopefully they score, and then we're going to get into our 3rd team. I almost forgot I still got one more to go over. Orbit motion. It's a load option with that dive. Oh, nice pitch read. Receiver blocking. Yes, sir. Look at the receiver blocking by the slot. He knows he's not going to get the biggest push because he's on a safety up there, their nickel. He's like, okay, I'm not going to be able to push you downfield, but I can wash you to the sideline and at least get you out of the play. And that's exactly what he does. He does a nice job doing a wall block there and staying in between the defender and the ball carrier. Pretty awesome, especially since you don't have the power to overmatch that defender. That's a really good use of technique by Andover's slot receiver. Now we're back in 11 personnel. Ain't no way we're about to get GH counter to the bottom of the screen. No, inside zone. I don't think they run GH. They ran that TH counter with the tackle. Oh, look at this. Double team at the point of attack. Double team at the point of attack. Oh. Ooh. Place center misses the double team here. If the center can get more of a piece right there and you get a double team and then you chip him and get up to backer, that would have been better. But he does get it. Oh, if he gets a good job getting up to backer, if the running back would have just cut into the lane here, would have been off to the races. I mean, that's a better inside zone than I've seen most 6A teams do. It's light years ahead of Stillwater and Blaine, because they just don't do double teams, period. They really struggle with them. Nice. So, yeah, Andover, offense. Like, even down to the little technique. Oh, look, here's another double team at the point of attack. And did they already fix it? They already fixed it. Look at the center and the guard double team, backside guard and tackle double team. You leave him unblocked because the quarterback reads him. You freeze him there. Oh, my goodness. Look at the double teams. Double teams at the point of attack. Yeah, if I'm Blaine High School, and look at... See how much of a difference that makes when you get the double teams at the point of attack? Watch the play before this when the center completely missed the double team. The play was there. You can see the same running lane is there. It's just he missed the double team at the point of attack, and it kind of muddied things up in the middle. You didn't get clean blocking. But here, they literally call the exact same play inside zone left, and you get the double teams at the point of attack. You drive the defensive lineman back into the linebackers. Yeah, that linebacker just did not scrape over at all. I don't know why he's stepping this way on inside zone left, which, you should be scraping that way, especially when you see down blocking, zone blocking, stepping that way. He steps out. Yeah. But this is a great effort. And look at the running back. He sees the hole. All right, here's my lane. I'm going to take it. And then turn on the jets. Look at the footwork. Look at just how many steps he takes here. Boom, 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 boom. Makes a nasty move. Okay. Now I see why Andover scores so much. And look at that. One of the things everyone says is, 6A teams are much better at adjusting than, the classes below them. Well, I don't know. We've seen a lot of 6A teams on stream that will not adjust, like the aforementioned Blaine Bengals. Meanwhile, here's Andover. Within one play, they adjusted how they ran inside zone. They got it off correctly because that was the bad one. They turn around, very next play, inside zone left again. They get their double teams at the point of attack this time, and it makes a whole world of difference. Beautiful. Absolutely awesome. And look, Coach DeVellis down here. He's so casual about it. He's like, yeah, I knew they were giving us inside zone. We got the double teams, especially as an offensive lineman, former offensive lineman himself at the U. Probably loves seeing those double teams. He's so casual. Look at this move right here. That's an awesome move. They're all going nuts. And Coach DeVellis is just so cool. He's just like, yep, of course we scored. One. Nutty. I'm glad we got to see that. Yeah, definitely Andover's offense is not just the offense is a thing to be feared, but the coaching around the offense, especially when they realize, okay, we made a mistake, we can improve upon that, and then literally the next play they can improve upon that. That's especially when you consider how fast-paced their offense is, the fact that they're able to make adjustments like that on the fly, that's pretty darn nutty. So, yeah, Andover gonna be scary. Now that we've got the Huskies out of the way and analyzed, let's take a look at our final team joining 6A for the 25 to 27 cycle, Moorhead. So unlike Rogers and Andover, Moorhead is going to be joining Section 6 for playoffs, and they will be playing in the Metro West Division. If you look at their enrollment, Moorhead actually has 1,779 students, which is good for 23rd in 6A. Back in the previous cycle, the 23 to 25 cycle, they were the first team out, technically the biggest school in 5A, below Rochester Mayo, and that was only by 3 students. I want to say Moorhead was 1,630, And I think Rochester Mayo was 1633. So it's super 1634. It was something right around there. It was so close. Or maybe it was 1630 to like 1626. It was something within like 3 or 4 kids. Then that was all. I mean, Moorhead was 4 kids away from being 6A 2 years ago, and now finally happened. But it's not just Moorhead. Like, we got to put this into perspective. So if you look over here on the map, we'll go over to the right side of the slide first. Over here is the Twin Cities area where you have 31 out of 32 teams in 6A football. If you think about teams that have been like outliers in previous years, we had Brainerd 2 cycles ago, which, you know, up there by Mille Lacs, pretty decent drive. Last cycle, we had Rochester Mayo, who's all the way down here. Solid drive down 52. We had to make that drive for Lakeville South, playing another Metro South team in Rochester Mayo. But all the way out here on the border of North Dakota and Fargo is Moorhead. Like, I don't think people realize, like, once you get to St. Cloud, it's still another 2 hours away, like 2+ hours, away to get to Moorhead. So, like, this team right here, that's St. Michael Albertville. They are the closest team to Moorhead in 6A, and it is a 2 hour and 57-minute drive with no traffic from STMA to Moorhead. Like, that's the closest game. And if you think about it, Rogers, who's over here, has to go to Moorhead week 1, week 2. Moorhead's going all the way over here to play Woodbury. This one tucked behind Eastridge right there. Like, they're going to have nutty drives. And think about all these blue teams minus Hopkins right here, the 6A co-op one. Moorhead's going to play all these other teams in the blue. They got to go to Edina. They got to go to Minnetonka. They got to go to Eden Prairie. Meanwhile, STMA, Maple Grove, and Wyzetta all go up to Fargo. Now that I'm looking at the map, do you think it's kind of funny that 3 northernmost teams get to go to Fargo or Moorhead first, and the 3 further teams don't? Especially which teams don't have to. I mean, Minnetonka, EP, and Edina. Moorhead's got to visit all of those 3. But then again, you get defending champion of 6A, Maple Grove, coming to your stadium all the way out in Moorhead. That's probably not something that Coach Feeney imagined would happen when they were playing Alexandria last season, but dang. We're going to get some nutty matchups with the Spuds. And speaking of Spuds, they also have studs. I mean, if you look, this is the most recent Minnesota Prep Red Zone rankings for football for the class of 2027. Obviously, you got your buddy at Wyzetta ranked there at number 1. But if you look, 3 of the top 6 players all are in the class of 2027 for Moorhead on the offensive side of the ball. You have David Mack, their stud wide receiver, Tay Rich over at running back, and then obviously you got Jet Feeney at the quarterback, who I think he's starting to get a lot of offers here. I think NDSU offered him. Talk a little bit more about that when we go over the head coach of Moorhead. But yeah, Moorhead's definitely in a very interesting position because I don't think any 6A team has ever gone that far to play a game. We've had some teams go to Brainerd, or Brainerd's come to the Twin Cities. Like Coon Rapids, I think, went to Brainerd. Obviously, all the Metro South teams in the last cycle all went down to Rochester. But like even for Rosemount, that's no more. I think it's just under 2 hours. Like that's nothing compared to the almost 4-hour drive to get out to Moorhead. I mean, you're talking like a trip to Rochester and back, essentially, to get out to Moorhead. And that's just one way to go to Moorhead. That's pretty nutty. So let's do an overview. As I mentioned, their mascot is the Spud. It's actually a potato. I don't think I have a picture of him on here. Really fast, we're going to Google our buddy Spuddy. That's actually Moorhead's mascot. Yes, sir. Spuddy the potato. That might be the best mascot in the state of Minnesota. Oh, here we go. Spud's weightlifting. We love Spud's weightlifting. Yeah, he's even trademarked. Look at that. Oh my goodness, they have an actual potato costume for Spuddy. What in the world? Yeah. If anyone has not bought their Spuddy merchandise, even if you don't support Moorhead, maybe just support Spuddy, because vote Spud. Oh, what is that? Whoa! Okay, maybe some nightmare fuel up there in Moorhead. Maybe reel it in on the Spuddy stuff. Yeesh. But anyway, their colors are orange and black, so, get another orange and black team next to Farmington, White Bear Lake, and Osseo. They had an amazing run last year, going 8-0 in the regular season. Huge win at Alexandria. I don't know if Alexandria had lost to Elk River at that point, but it was a huge win for Moorhead. And then similar to, actually, this is a really weird thing that happened to all three of the new teams in 6A. They all beat a team in the regular season and then lost to that team in the playoffs. Rogers beat Spring Lake Park, and then as we saw in the film earlier, turned around and lost to them in the first round of the playoffs. Andover beats Elk River in the regular season, then turns around and loses to Elk River in the section final. Same thing here with Moorhead. Moorhead beats Alexandria in the regular season, then I don't know who they beat in the playoffs. I'm assuming it was probably like Sartell or Bemidji, someone like that. And then they lost to Alexandria, who they beat previously in the first round of the playoffs. Yeah, so kind of nutty there. And speaking of nutty, 48.7 points a game. Like, to put that into perspective, that's just under a 7 touchdown point per game average. 7 touchdowns a game. Not like over the span of multiple games. One game. 7 TDs. That's insanity. I mean, we were just talking about how Andover is like the light speed Star Wars offense of football in Minnesota. Moorhead, whoa. And then on top of that, they're also giving up less than 20 points per game. 19.3 points per game against good competition. They have over a 4 touchdown positive margin in points per game. That's mind-boggling to me. Like, Moorhead, and think about that. That was last year when David Mack, Tay Rich, and Jet Feeney were only sophomores. They got 2 more years. They're going to have 2 full years of 6A football where they could compete for a 6A title. Like, that is insanity. Like, we were just talking with Andover. Sure, you score points, but their defense was giving up almost 4 touchdowns a game. Moorhead's defense has given up less than 3 touchdowns a game, while averaging an additional 2 touchdowns a game more than Andover on offense. Like, not quite 2, but 10 points. Another 2 possessions, we'll say. So that's really nutty. But I think the big sad part about this, and going back to the map, Moorhead is not going to have any rivals anymore. If you think about these teams that they play year after year, Alexandria, Bemidji, maybe Brainerd every once now and then again, Sartell and Rogers, those are the teams they play really consistently, and they're not going to see any of them anymore. Well, okay, let me strike that back. They're going to play Rogers week 1, but they're not even in their division anymore. It just happened to be that they preserve that rivalry because Rogers is used to playing Moorhead and vice versa. But who are the new rivals going to be for Moorhead? I mean, you go from playing Bemidji, Alexandria, and Sartell to Maple Grove, Edina, Minnetonka, Eden Prairie, Wayzata. Like, whoa! Talk about, like, a total culture shock. Like, who's their new rival going to be? Is Rogers still going to be their rival, or is Moorhead thinking above that? Are they thinking, hey, we want to go Spud Thud? Okay, that was stupid. We want to go thud some of the biggest teams in 6A, right? We think we can match up with a Moorhead, we can match up with an Eden Prairie or an Edina. Like, oh boy, Mason West needs to play football this year so that we can see Jet Feeney versus Mason West week 8. I mean, think about how many scouts are going to pull up to Coolman Stadium to see that. So, nutty. Yeah, I guess we'll see how that pans out, but who knows who Moorhead's new rival will be. Maybe they'll have something going with Woodbury because they have a non-conference game with Woodbury week 2 of the season. I don't know, but I think they're probably aiming a little bit higher than that. So, at the helm of the Moorhead Spuds, I apologize, I cannot find a better picture on Google. This is one of the first ones that popped up. This is head coach Kevin Feeney. He was a quarterback for North Dakota State back in the 90s. Offensive-minded guy, obviously. I don't know if he has any other sons, but a few years ago, he had his other son, Trey Feeney, that was a QB. I think he might have played for the Bison, maybe went somewhere else as well. Another great quarterback for Moorhead. I think they had a mythical AP state title that year, right? In 5A. And funny enough, that's the year Lakeville South had their AP state title, 2020. Bummer that these two did not get to match up. That would have been cool. His day job, he's a teacher at Moorhead High School. I don't know what subject he teaches. Funny enough, that was not listed on Moorhead's website. I do know his tenure, though. This is going to be his 16th season coaching at Moorhead. He's been the head coach for 15 seasons starting in 2010. It's been hard to track his record or his playoff record over such a large span. I don't think they've. Well, okay, I guess that is technically incorrect. They do have the AP state title for 2020 in 5A, and then he's won 3 state titles in North Dakota before he came across the border to coach at Moorhead. And then, now that we've talked about that, I want to give a quick shout out to the Dom Izzo Hot Mic. This is kind of a little sports thing they got going on Inform up in the Moorhead area, and I just found out about this last week when I was kind of throwing my slideshow here together. And I was listening to it, and it was super interesting. So we're going to take a little listen to this and give some commentary over it. I think it's a good way, because like as I listened to this, I realized, oh, they're all the way out there in Moorhead, and they really don't know what's going on with 6A football here in the Twin Cities. And likewise, like, I mean, the kids here in Lakeville, what's a Moorhead? What's a Spuddy? I don't know. That's why it's just kind of cool. It's like two worlds coming together here.
Welcome back, everybody. Final half hour here on this Monday morning. If I gave our next guest about 2 hours, I'm not sure if we could still get down to the nitty-gritty of what went on. Of course, Friday we talked about it. The Minnesota State High School League came out and placed its competitive sections for the next 2 school years for 25-26 and 26-27.
Yep, that's true. I remember we talked about that in the Minnesota High School Football Network.
You mentioned last Monday we had Tay Rich on the show. He may not have let the cat out of the bag that Moorhead was moving to 6A football, because I texted our next guest, like, is this happening? And
I don't know if it was Tay Rich. I know I was talking with one of the Moorhead Olympic, or a few of the Moorhead Olympic weightlifting kiddos, and I was telling them, like, hey, these numbers are out already. You guys are going to be 6A football, like in between or before we had the state meet at the beginning of March, and this video is from April 7th. So yeah, it's been just over a month at this point that Moorhead has technically been in 6A football. They didn't know their competitive section or schedule yet, but they did know they were 6A at that point.
Kevin Feeney said, yes, it is, and now it's official. We know the Spuds, where they're going to be playing in 6A, and I guess let me ask, do we know who you're playing? Is this the teams that you're placed with? Is that determined that you're playing them next year?
Sort of. So the way 6A works, because I don't know how, I forget how Coach Feeney responds to this, but at least the way in 6A, you get 6 in-district games / section. It's a little bit weird. Like the Metro East, they have 5 conference games, and they get 1 non-conference game that's still a section game against Roseville or Park Cottage Grove. And then you have 2 non-section games. Like, for example, Mounds View's 2 non-section games are Lakeville South and Maple Grove. Meanwhile, they play the rest of the Metro East and 1 Maroon Metro East team. I guess, my bad. 1 Maroon team from Section 4, which is either Roseville or Park Cottage Grove. So with Moorhead, you know, okay, I don't know how it's going to pan out with Hopkins, but you know 6 of your games are going to be against these teams in your section.
I think partially, yes, for sure, yes. I think there's a lot of unknowns and still trying to figure a lot of that kind of stuff out. Like with our staff, it seems like there's a lot more questions than answers right now.
That is true.
Describe the 6A move. We had Dean Haugo on the show, obviously, last week, Kevin.
Dean Haugo, by the way, is the athletic director for Moorhead High School, just to give context.
Enrollment based on this, how much in your mind have you been planning, like, all right, maybe by 25 or 26, we're going to be bumped up to the top class?
Man.
You know, there was a good amount of conversations that were being had 2 years ago because we were right on that brink. And so, you know.
That's right. If you remember earlier, I said that Moorhead barely missed the cutoff in 2023 by like 3 or 4 students to Rochester Mayo. So they were right there.
Depending on how things shook out, you know what I mean? There was a great chance that.
And you know what? I think out of the 3 6A teams that were going to move up, Moorhead was probably like the most likely, because it, like, even last year, like fall 2024, I mean, anyone could see it. Moorhead's growing, Burnsville is going down. At the very least, it was pretty predictable that Burnsville would go down to 5A and Moorhead would come up to 6A. So, I mean, like, that has been concrete to me for a while. But obviously, none of that's official until the State High School League gives us all the numbers and school districts report those numbers to the State High School League. Or I guess to Minnesota Department of Education, might be. Right, ISD728?
That we were going to be placed in 6A. And, you know, we have a couple classes here that make a big jump as far as enrollment goes. Long term, I don't know what that looks like. I mean, I don't anticipate.
Long term, I fully expect Moorhead to continue growing and to stay in 6A, especially when you look at teams like Forest Lake that are shrinking and may drop down to 5A in the coming years. unless they opt up. Or like a team like Mounds View, for example. There's not really a whole lot of room for expansion in like the Shoreview, Mounds View area, New Brighton and all that. It's pretty well built up in that area. I don't know about New Brighton, but yeah, it's pretty well built up. Not a whole lot of room to expand. So I don't know if any of those teams are going to stick around in 6A. Meanwhile, that gives Moorhead a lot more leeway to stay in 6A.
Anticipate Moorhead getting a crazy smaller.
No.
But on the flip side of that, I always go back to a lot of my decisions and all that kind of stuff when I have conversations with kids is about what is the long-term goal. And I think, I've been involved when Minnesota only had 5 classes. And then while I was here in Moorhead, they added the 6th class. And
that is true, because remember I said he started in 2010. 6A did not begin until 2012. So there were 2 years where he was technically coaching in the biggest, classification in Minnesota.
The reason they added the 6th class was because the Metro didn't want to leave the Metro. And I obviously was not a part of any of those conversations, but
I'm going to dispute that. And the only reason I am going to dispute that claim a little bit is because I've talked with Bob Madison about this. And I think I talked about this in the Minnesota High School Football Network podcast. The main reason 6A was created back in 2012 is because teams on the lower end of 5A, like it wasn't because the 32 biggest teams were like, hey, we just want to go beat each other up. It was the 32 teams below that didn't want to be involved with that. It was more so that a team like a Bloomington Kennedy, a Robbinsdale Cooper, or an Apple Valley, or even like a Two Rivers doesn't have to match up with a Wayzata, a Minnetonka, or a Prior Lake. That's the main reason that 6A was created, so that big schools play big schools. But even then, like looking at the numbers back at the beginning of the slideshow, I mean, like, take Andover, 1642 students. Wayzata has almost 2,000 students more than them, like at 3,500, and they're in the same class. So you could argue 6A, obviously it's not a perfect system, but dang. And funny enough, that's the first game of the season is actually Andover at Wayzata, the technical smallest, like, contiguous 6A school, because, Coon Rapids technically opted up, versus the biggest 6A school. Yeah, that's going to be a pretty fun matchup. Might give the edge to the Huskies. I don't know. Both teams are very analytical on offense. Wayzata's used to playing hard-hitting 6A Metro West football. Andover's going to have a bit of a welcoming party over there out in Plymouth. So I guess we'll see how that plays out. Let's get back to Coach Feeney here.
But they came up with 32. Well, that was because there was 32 Metro schools. And now
I don't necessarily know if it's because we didn't want to leave the Metro.
That's kind of starting to get broken a little bit with the formula that the high school league uses to come up with their actual enrollment numbers, which,
as we saw at the beginning, it's not necessarily because like all Metro teams, it's based on athletic enrollment. Yeah, so it just all depends on where your athletic enrollment falls, not your proximity to the Twin Cities. Like we saw Rochester Mayo in the last cycle before that, we had Brainerd. So like we've had outliers before. Obviously not to the extremity that we've had a Moorhead before, but we have had outliers in 6A.
Which is another thing that I don't know if anybody really knows how they come up with those numbers, but
also going to dispute that just because we saw the example on stream at the very beginning and we took the formula right from the State High School League's website. Yeah, obviously I'm sure maybe they don't know about all those processes out there in Moorhead.
With that being said, long term, it'll be interesting to see if they add teams to 6A or if they'll, what that 32 looks like after these 2 years.
So,
yeah, I mean, he's totally right. I mean, like I said earlier in the video, if school districts redraw boundaries, there's a decent chance, like, Rogers is super overpopulated because all those people are moving into the city of Otsego, which is currently boundaried into Rogers High School. Is District 728 going to have to redo their boundaries so that Elk River gets more of those kids from Otsego? How much does that boost Elk River? Does that allow them to jump up into 6A next year or in the next cycle? Like, you never know. That could be nutty. We might actually get an Andover versus Elk River reunion battle in 6A in 2027. Hey, I'm here for that, man. That'd be awesome.
Moorhead got placed in a section, and here are the schools with Eden Prairie, Edina, Hopkins, Maple Grove, Minnetonka, St. Michael, Albertville, and Wayzata. Anybody that watches this show will know right away.
Look at that list, man. That's nutty.
About 4 or 5 of those schools, Kevin, that jump right off the page. The excitement level for me as a observer, as one who covers them, awesome that any of these teams are going to come to Jim Goda Stadium next fall.
And I mean, not just this fall, but in this 2-year cycle, all of them except Hopkins are going to be going up to Moorhead. Like I said earlier, this year it's Maple Grove, STMA, and Wyzetta that are going to go up there. In the 2026 season, it's going to be Edina, EP, and Minnetonka that have to go up to Moorhead. Wonder if they made sure to wait until after Caleb Francois graduates before sending Minnetonka up there.
I hope they're coming to Jim Goda Stadium.
Feel bad for Coach Lombardi over at Minnetonka. Regardless of whether he would have stayed at Maple Grove or gone to Minnetonka, he still gets stuck going up to Moorhead. He probably didn't have that on, or even as like a thought when he like coached in 6A. Like, hey, in a year or two, I might have to go up to Moorhead. Although, you know, he's really in touch with all this stuff. I would not be surprised if he was already anticipating that like a year or two ago. In fact, now that I'm thinking about it, he probably already had this well planned out.
That is probably, you know, I'm joking. Yes, the state can mandate that they have 4 schools that come out to Moorhead and play us, and that will be. But
I mean, that's true. And, you know, all the 6A teams say, hey, they win a state title, you got to beat everybody else. Well, go out to Moorhead and go beat them.
But, you know, the biggest thing is, yeah, that
Ooh, look at that tunnel screen right there. Oh, look at the moves.
I mean, if you looked at the history of the state championships in 6A football, majority of those are coming out of that group.
Yep.
That you
just nice receiver blocking downfield. This is a highlight clip. This isn't even huddle film or anything yet. Look at the receiver blocking by number 6 right here. And he's smaller than that DB. He pushed over a guy like twice his height.
And so, no doubt, we've got a huge mountain to climb and a short time, let's say, to get ready for that. But I do think.
What in the world is that touchdown, Selly? Well. That's not Mr. Mack,
like
is it?
Saying with Tay.
How much have they known? How much have you kept them in the loop about what may be coming down the pipe?
Okay, I might take some of the fall for that question. Because like I said, I was talking with a bunch of their football players that are also Olympic weightlifting kiddos. I think Lubitz I was talking with, Coach Lubitz. He also does football. He's one of the Olympic weightlifting coaches for Moorhead this past spring. And I'm like, hey, it's happening, man. Those numbers came out. You are in 6A now. And this was back in like early March when we had the state finals down in Cannon Falls for Olympic weightlifting.
You know, with a group of them, they're pretty in tune with what's going on, and kids nowadays have access to everything, right? So they hear.
That's true. I mean, if any of them watched the podcast that I did with Caleb over on Minnesota High School Football Network, then they probably knew, like, hey, this psychopath from Lakeville South says we're going to be 6'8", coach. And all of a sudden, a month later, the state high school league's like, hey, you're 6'8", Spuds. And they're like, oh.
Stuff before I do, usually, but where it's official. But you know what? I think these kids that we have, like I said, we've got a special group of kids right now that are coming through. And
that's true, man. We saw earlier they have that nutty group of kids that are in the class of 2027. They have 3 of the top 6 players in the class of 2027, all on the offensive side of the ball.
I think my biggest thing is looking long term, right? I mean, we've been
number 9, David Mack. He might be. He's had a few nice catches.
We worked really, really hard to build it up and make it a state contender each year. And so, no doubt in my mind that we've got to find a way to continue that, regardless of what class we're in.
Continue to be. I mean, they've definitely built a state contender on a yearly basis in 5A. I think everyone's just kind of wondering how it's going to translate into 6A. And I mean, at least with Andover and Rogers, like, okay, you got to play like Blaine, Anoka lost a lot of talent. They won't be there. I mean, Centennial will be a tough game, but the Metro North isn't as strong as it once was, especially now that Maple Grove's out of it. Moorhead's just getting thrown right in the meat grinder right away with that nasty Metro West conference. Like, oh boy.
But we've also got to be major advocates for ourselves and what we can do as a program to make sure that we're not just looking at 2 years. We're looking at the next 10 years. And I think that's our biggest challenge currently.
There are real logistical concerns on this that pop out. In this day and age, travel.
Okay, logistical concerns. This is a great point. I showed you on the map earlier, just revisit the slideshow really fast, how far away, there it is, how far away Moorhead is. Remember, St. Michael Albertville to Moorhead is just under 3 hours, and that is the closest team to Moorhead in all of 6A. Yeah.
Is a big one. How do you rectify that knowing you have to travel and every Moorhead team has to go down to the cities? Now I'm sure the belly aching is starting already that, wait a minute, we have to go where for football?
Right.
Moorhead already
joking,
travels,
I don't know
though.
If they quite know where we're at. But like I said, the beauty of that is they can mandate that for Friday nights. Realistically, where our concern is at the sub-varsity levels, because
I didn't even think about that. Like, So with sub-varsity, like freshman games in 6A are played on Wednesday and Thursday, and you're telling me you're going to get Moorhead kids? Like week 1, Rogers is at Moorhead. Usually it's the opposite for 9th grade in 6A. So you're going to tell me that Moorhead 9th grade football on a Wednesday or Thursday is going to have to go down to Rogers High School to play a 9th grade football game?
When you're talking travel, for example, currently the JV programs in 6A football play Saturday mornings.
That is true. JV football in 6A plays Saturday morning.
I don't know what that'll look like when we're loading a bus at 5 a.m. to get to a game, 4 hours away. And that's banking on, I always kind of chuckle at, right? My wife is from Minneapolis, St. Paul, and I'm not real familiar all the time with where everything is. I'll be like, hey, hon, how far is it? Oh, it's 15 to 20 minutes. That's 15 to 20 minutes, I think, at 3 a.m. traffic. Not anywhere where we seem to be driving on, because it's usually double to triple that. And that's what I'm getting at, is a lot of the logistical stuff that you're talking about are going to be huge challenges for us long term.
Definitely.
People that
like I said, Moorhead's going to be sticking around 6A for a while based on those numbers we saw earlier and the fact that they're growing. There's some other schools in 6A that are still shrinking on that kind of bottom echelon of teams. But, I mean, just like, wow. How are you going to manage the logistics of Moorhead football? How do you tell a kid coming into high school, hey, half your schedule, you're going to have to drive 4 hours away? How do you tell their parents that? Like, hey, you want to go to your kid's football game? Book an overnight stay down in Wayzata or Plymouth. Like, whoa.
Don't know, when do your JV teams play now? What day of the week you guys play?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to see if I remember this, because I got buddies in 5A still. JV teams in 5A play on Monday afternoon.
Perfect question. So we play Monday evenings on JV, and our
Locked
freshmen
in.
play Friday prior to our varsity games.
Freshmen play on Fridays? So back in my Jefferson days, the only time we ever played a game on Friday, it only happened 3 times. Twice it was against, funny enough, the same team, Apple Valley. For some reason, the Apple Valley Eagles love to play on Fridays before the varsity game. And the only other time was 2022, the first game of the season at home versus Chaska. And that was before school starts. Remember, week 1 is prior to Labor Day? Yeah, because Memorial Day is in the spring. Labor Day is the one that's in the fall. So prior to Labor Day. School has not started yet.
Currently, 6A plays Wednesday evenings for their freshman games.
Partially true. As I said earlier, 9th grade teams play either Wednesday or Thursday, depending on how many officials we're able to get on any given week.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So there's a lot of question marks to that. And then the double-edged...
I should mention really fast, I'm not criticizing or like correcting Coach Feeney. Like I said, this is like a collision of 2 different worlds coming together. Like, because obviously they're out there in Moorhead, they know 5A football. That's the world they've been in forever, right? They don't know, and I mean vice versa. I don't necessarily know anything about how they do anything out there in Moorhead. We're here in the Twin Cities, and we know like 6A football. So it's not as much me like, oh, I'm correcting everything you're saying, as opposed to it's like an understanding of 2 different worlds coming together. It's kind of like we're building a bridge between Moorhead and Lakeville right now.
Sort of this whole thing is saying, okay, well, yeah, we could probably get a handful of games in this region. You know what I mean? Whether it be in North Dakota or Minnesota, but realistically, at every other sport in, at Moorhead High, you played a mirror scheduling. For example, if your volleyball team's going down to play whatever team in Minneapolis, you play them in freshman, JV, and varsity.
That's a good
point.
point.
You do the same thing in baseball. You do the same thing in basketball, hockey, etc. Well, realistically, those are going to be huge challenges, because in 6A, they have not currently sent a freshman football team more than a half hour away, let alone 4 hours away.
Okay, that is false, just because, like I think I mentioned earlier, Rochester Mayo in this previous cycle was in 6A, and we in the Metro South had to play Rochester Mayo, both at the varsity and 9th grade level. It's like in 2023, the Spartans had to come all the way up to Lakeville South and play us in our stadium on, I think that was a Wednesday game. That one was a Wednesday game. And then our varsity, we had to go all the way down there. And then this past season, 2024, our 9th grade team made the drive all the way down to Rochester, which is always nice. Go stop at Flapdoodles, pick up some French silk pie ice cream. Ooh, good time. So, I mean, those travel times have definitely existed. And I think I mentioned earlier, like Rosemount, I think that might have been the furthest team away from them. Had to go up and down. Eden Prairie had to go down to Rochester Mayo for 9th grade. So, I mean, that's still only like, 2 hours? 80 minutes to 2 hours? 100 minutes or 2 hours? Somewhere within that range. You're talking double that to get just one way to Moorhead. Like, yeah, I don't know how that's going to work logistically. Like, who does Moorhead play week 2? Woodbury. You're going to tell me that you're going to send Woodbury's freshman team 4 hours away on a Wednesday afternoon to go play Moorhead's 9th grade team? I mean, it'd be an awesome matchup and a cool experience, but how do you do that? Especially since school will have started. That'll be the first week of school. Do you pull the kids out of school early for that game? And then what do you do? If it's a Thursday night game, do the kids have to stay overnight? How do you get them back to school for the next day if they're not getting home until like 1 or 2 in the morning? It just... Yeah. And then what about the toll that takes on the kids? Hey, you're going to go ride a 4-hour bus ride and then hop off and play one of the best football teams in the state of Minnesota. Like, ooh, yeah, I don't know about that.
And so, and that is not mandated. And that's where there's going to be some give and take because we've got to be smart. But on the same token, we can't make families drive to the cities every Saturday morning for a sub-varsity game.
Was there
That's true.
any
You can't do that to
consultation
parents.
done, do you know, Kev, with the school about a preferred placement? Because I know Dean was on Wednesday with maybe the hope of like a Coon Rapids, Andover, Blaine, those schools, which, I mean, you have to drive past all of those to get to the ones you are going to play.
Do they? Going back to the map once again. I mean, I guess it's sort of a mix. If you go down 94 to 494 here, it's not quite. You do have to drive past Rogers, but you play them anyway. You don't really drive past Osseo. You pretty much turn off on 494 before you bump into like Osseo or Coon Rapids or any of those teams or Champlain Park. So I don't think that statement's quite as accurate, but I mean, I guess they are slightly closer to the Metro North teams. Either way, well, I guess they're, relatively speaking, not close to anybody, but, I digress.
Right. So way back in December, I think there was a survey sent out that we looked at, and it was kind of just saying in football scheduling, what's important, geographic, like schools, and rivalries.
Okay, and I think those are all the 3 things I mentioned in one of my podcasts with Caleb on Minnesota High School Football Network. I did say that rivalries, similar talent, and geographic location were the 3 biggest things coaches said they wanted when talking about the upcoming schedule.
For example, to your point of driving past, we're going to drive past multiple schools to get to the schools that we're placed within our section. But then you also start looking at like schools. And like schools to me mean like roster sizes or demographics of your schools.
Does Moorhead really have the same demographics as Wayzata, Minnetonka, or Edina? I don't necessarily know.
And I think that's where things kind of went a little bit sideways. And then when you start talking rivals, and I use this from a standpoint of, we're 6A now. We don't have a lot of rivals, obviously.
He's true. I mean, that's what I brought up earlier, right? Is that they have all those old rivals in 5A, like that were around them. Your Alexandrias, your Brainerd. I don't remember if Brainerd was one. Bemidji, that's it. Other B, like Alexandria, Bemidji. And now you don't have any of those teams in 6A. Who are your new rivals? Edina, Minnetonka, EP.
Because we haven't played these teams, but in our other sports, for example, boys basketball played Anoka a couple times this year. We've played Rogers in numerous sports throughout the years, right? You know what I mean? And so we've got to make those teams our rivals. And that's where I'm not quite sure how the conversations went, because I don't know from the results of that survey. We were never given any of the results from that, but I don't know which teams wouldn't want geography, like schools, and rivals to be a part of their scheduling process. But
he makes a good point. That'd be like, that'd be like if Lakeville North was like, you know what? I don't want to play Lakeville South anymore, or Farmington. That'd be just so bizarre. Well, Farmington probably doesn't want to play either Lakeville school anymore for obvious reasons, but I digress.
I'm not privy to that.
Well, and I'll add, is there an opportunity to still play a Bemidji? Or now you have a great rival with Alexandria. Is that done so?
Oh, that's something we were talking about earlier. It might be. Alexandria's still 5A, Moorhead 6A, and there's really no crossover with the varsity squads.
In your mind?
That's a great question. I would hope not. Once again, I don't know that answer. But like when I first got to Moorhead in 2010, and I was talking to Don Hulbert, and I was asking, okay, who are our rivals,
Right.
right? I mean, because when I was at Fargo South and Fargo Shanley, you develop that stuff, and you kind of patterned your schemes off it, and you're planning,
Like
right?
I said,
And
he's a North
when
Dakota
I asked
guy.
that question back in 2010, Moorhead was just an independent, and there was no
Right.
set way of getting schedules. So it was just kind of a grab bag. Well, eventually we got to the point where it's okay. Bemidji, Brainerd, Alexandria, Sartell.
Okay, it was
Those
Brainerd. Bemidji, Brainerd, Alexandria, Sartell are their
four
rivals.
schools kind of consider.
Okay, so, but see, this is what's inspiring about what Coach Feeney just said. He said when he got there in 2010, Moorhead didn't have any rivals. They were an independent. He built those rivalries over time. So that's what makes me really hopeful for the future is I cannot wait to see what rivalries are built with the Moorhead Spuds in 6A football, or Rogers or Andover for that matter.
Consistently were really, really good schools. We had great games with them. We play them in multiple sports, and you can kind of create your identity and the rivalry and the heatedness, let's just
Yeah.
say, which has been so much fun. And I think you see that within our community, right? When those teams come to town, the stadium's pretty packed.
Was there any solace in seeing Alexandria win the boys basketball championship at all for you, or no?
Let's skip ahead. I don't need to
Right?
hear
When
about
ball
Alexandria
maybe a grade or
basketball. We
two
know all
higher than
about
what he is
Chase
for
Thompson.
them. And Dom, what I sports.
Mm-hmm.
You know what? And then that's where I don't know here to get into that debate. But what I'm saying is the beauty of the region and the league that we were playing currently. A lot of those kids were crossing over to multiple sports.
Oh, we love multi-sport athletes. Coach Feeney is right on the money with that.
And it created for some super fun opportunities for kids to compete
Yeah.
in each season, not just one season.
Well, I knew Chase Thompson as a basketball player. I had no idea he played quarterback until I saw him play you guys. I'm like, holy cow. He was a great football player.
A great football player. And I remember seeing him as a freshman in high school play football. And I was like, oh boy, this kid can sling it. He's a smart kid, tough kid. You know what I
Clemson
mean? And I'm
basketball
super
player.
excited to watch him, follow.
Crazy.
Yeah. And you know what? I'm a college basketball nut. So
About your current team, it's recruiting season. We had Tayon last week being offered by the University of Minnesota. David Mack's been offered by the University of Minnesota. Your son.
Those are two of their top players, by the way, that I mentioned earlier. David Mack, receiver, Tay Rich at running back.
Is out. What is this like?
Jet Feeney also getting recruited.
Knowing you have this level of talent getting this level of attention.
Oh, you think you're getting this level of attention now? Just wait until you walk into Edina, EP, or Minnetonka and potentially escape one of those three with a dub. I think I mentioned earlier, you get Moorhead at Edina, both Mason West and Jet Feeney are playing. You're going to have college scouts lining up, jumping over each other to get into Coolman Stadium that night. Oh, boy.
It's first of all, it's a credit to those guys, and it's a credit to our team. And I think I use this term all the time, right? Through team success comes individual accolades, and the group that you just mentioned are examples of the results of the people that are around them. And those guys work extremely hard, and they have aspirations of going to play at a really high level. And you could tell that with the three that
You're going to have the chance to play at the highest level in the state of Minnesota for high school football, especially out in that Metro West.
you mentioned right away, since probably about third grade, that I could tell that this group was going to be a little bit different. But you know what? It's fun. It's exciting. My goal in this as a coach, now obviously now you include Jet and it's the dad, so it's a little bit different. But my goal with all of our players all the time when it comes to recruiting is just get them evaluated by the most amount of schools that we possibly can have to find out who's actually genuinely interested and that where they could see themselves going and being successful. And get a lot of eyes and evaluation. This is just, like Elanius. I just was out for lunch with Elanius last week. Now it's all happening. Kids got to put your head down and go to work.
For dad times two. After doing it with Trey, what do you know now with Jet? What do you know maybe what to look for? What
to ask, COVID.
All right, this is more talking about just like recruiting.
Up here. People are going to be parking at the Meadows.
Being successful.
I got to tell you, if Eden Prairie comes up here, people are going to be parking at the Meadows, man, to get to Jim Goda that night.
That won't happen in 2025, but as we mentioned, that will happen in the 2026 season, where Eden Prairie will go to Moorhead. Maybe Mike Grant will retire before he has to do that. Maybe this will be Mike Grant's last season at EP, but I kind of doubt that.
I believe that. It'd be crazy.
Yeah, we'll see. All of that, is going to be fun to see how it plays out. And
And sure enough, it did play. Remember, this video came out about a week before we got all of our schedules sent out to us. So, ooh, I forgot. The new interview came out with Jet Feeney. Maybe we'll watch that another time. But let's get into some Moorhead football film here. So we've talked about, obviously, great coach. They have a great Olympic weightlifting team. They've got stud athletes, and they've got necessarily records to show. Now let's actually see how they are on the field.
And ISO or black.
Ooh, maybe mute that a little bit. Let's get back to the start of the game here. This is Rogers versus Moorhead football. So we've already seen Rogers. Rogers is in the blue with the black pants, or I'm sorry, white jersey, blue helmet, blue numbers, black pants. Moorhead Spuds rocking their classic orange and black.
And it is all a result of
and this is regular YouTube, not Huddle TV, so I can skip ahead by just 5 seconds.
And then it's on the turf, and then finally covered up. But I think
not good. Maybe Moorhead's not as big on special teams. Let's make this full screen for you all.
Kick off, they directionally kick, and that was just a little pooch kick, and that's what it was not.
Okay, so Moorhead huddles on offense. We're going to see the Spuds' high-powered offense right away. Empty set. They have a tight end top side with the running back in the backfield top side. Slot, not even slot. This is trips closed.
At quarterback,
if it is a run play, it's a run play up to the left or a pass play down to the right.
Sophomore, and already 1 year under his
yes.
belt. Back to pass and looking at throwing, and it is.
Was that caught? Dude, what a diving catch. That was nutty. Can I make this resolution bigger? Is it the highest? Yeah, it's already at 7 points, the highest it gets.
Good for a 9-yard pickup. And it's second down.
Yep, they flooded that.
Okay, you can see Coach Feeney down here wearing the white. Interesting, he's not talking to the quarterback. He's talking to another player and has him run the play into the huddle. That's a great way to keep the to prevent the quarterback from running back and forth every single play.
About a 9-yard gain.
Dude, that's smart. Okay, Coach Feeney's thought this stuff out. All right, let's get this volume out of here. Did you see? They just did a trade like Prior Lake does. Look at this. The tight end and the H-back switch sides. I mean, that's what Prior Lake does. Okay, Moorhead's getting it going. All right, wait a minute. I think I remember. One of Moorhead's top plays is sweep, where they pull both guards around, kind of like Champlin Park does, or Centennial's buck sweep. And the running back you can see is on that side. Yeah, they both pull. Okay, there's sweep. There's a kick-out block. There's a block. Oh, my goodness. Look at this blocking here. Moorhead's got the blocks. Do we have a double team at the point of attack? Look at the double team at the point of attack. Fantastic. They shed to the next level. The guard actually adjusts, goes up and gets the next man. The running back follows the blocks. Dude, that's probably the best running play we've seen thus far. Like, Andover had some nutty double teams on that inside zone and good cutting lanes. This one's like right up there with that inside zone. Once again, they huddle. Okay, there's Mr. Feeney in the... I want to say 3 is Jet Feeney. I think 9 might be David Mack. I think Tay Rich is 7. I don't know if he's in the game right now. Ooh, Pistol 20 Pistol Queen here. Interesting, because the H-back is opposite of the 2 receiver side. And he's on this side. Are they going to do GH counter? Let's see if they do. I don't know if they have GH counter in their playbook. They do have GH counter in their playbook. Now we know. Oh, but it was a fake. Okay, I got faked out. Also, nutty backside hitch. Look at him. Okay, I don't know how I didn't notice this earlier. Look. He's looking right over at what he's got on the edge here. He's like, all right, you're going to blitz the edge. A DB stacked down. He's playing off. They're giving us a cover 3 look here. I'm going to take that on the backside. Dang. I was... pretty analytical there. I don't know if young Mr. Feeney called that at the line, if his dad noticed that, but they're not like icing the other team. Did they just know that ahead of time? They scouted that out? There he is. Now he's bringing another player to call the play into the huddle. Okay, see how both the guards just shifted there? This has to be sweep, right? You motion the H-back across to get another blocker. They're all in tights into the boundary. Why is... Dude, it's 2nd and 5. Why is Rogers playing so far off? And they're playing a 2-4 nickel? Into Moorhead's run-heavy game? Moorhead's got to run against this, right? Okay, yep, it was sweep. Like we said, the guards shifted. Dude, look at the guard adjustments. Do you see how they adjust as they pull around? Look, the first guard who normally has the kick out realizes, okay, there was such a good double team on the end. There's nobody to kick out. Turn up field. Other guard realizes turn up field. Look how patient the running back was. He stays behind the backside pulling guard and pushes him into a Rodgers defender. Oh, and then look at that. He's just running through tacklers. Okay, dude. Yeah, Moorhead might actually be able to compete in the Metro West. Just seeing the play calling, seeing how they're taking what Rodgers is giving them, the execution, the adaptation. I mean, it's like watching a Dyna run power GH counter. The way their guard and H-back adjust based on whether the kickout's there or not. Kickout's there, guard kicks out, H-back goes up. If it's not there, guard comes around, works outside shoulder, turns edge man in, H-back goes outside of him. And Chase Bjorgard does a great job reading whatever his lead blockers do and adjusting. I'm getting that exact same vibe from Moorhead. It's got to be GH counter. Anytime they're in this pistol, they like GH counter. Nope. Dude, I got faked again. It was GH counter, play action into a backside hitch. And again, I mean, it's... Rodgers' defense did not adjust. This is the same play they ran 2 plays ago. You're playing the same coverage. Really nice route by Moorhead's wide receiver. Look at the footwork here. He literally plants one and scrapes with the other. He's not taking pitter-patter steps. That's really good wide receiver technique. Not a fan that he had to catch it in here. The ball might have been a slight bit low. I would have liked to see him spiderweb, then tuck, especially if it's at chest height. There's Coach Feeney calling a play to another receiver. I think it was the receiver along the sideline here that he's calling the play to. It is. Dude, it's so smart. He literally has whoever's the closest to him, he tells them to play and then sends that kid out in the huddle so no one from the far side or in the middle of the field has to run all the way back every play. That's a nice little detail. Smart man there, Coach Feeney. What do we got this time, boys? Okay, it looks like they're set up for that GH counter again. Maybe they'll actually run it this time. Notice Rodgers adjusted. Now they're playing tight on him. They won't give up the backside hitch. Now is a good time to run. I mean, look at all this green space out here. You want to run at that. Sure enough, it's exactly what they do. Kick out sort of there. Does a good job adjusting. That one wasn't quite there. What I would have liked to see on this play is kind of like what a Dyna does. If the kickout's not there, then instead of working inside shoulder, work outside shoulder, which the backside guard does do a solid job of doing, but the H-back needs to know, okay, there's no kickout block. I need to now work around the backside and get out here, and then the running back can adjust. They all bounce it out there, and then there's a touchdown. Now you have the H-back leading. He can knock off that safety. Touchdown spuds. And you know what's interesting? So I talked about this with a Dyna running GH counter. The running back always has to be on the same side as the H-back. Otherwise, when you do it on the same side, like when a Dyna did it, Chase Bjorgard got the ball way too fast. The guard and the H-back weren't able to pull over in time by the time he's hitting. Yeah, that was a weird mix of time. Bottom line, Chase Bjorgard hit the hole before his lead blockers got there, before the guard could kick out, or before the H-back could get up the hole, and so the play just didn't work. But they were doing it out of a sidecar spread when he was only at 5 yards. If you look at Moorhead, they're doing it from 7.5 yards depth off the line of scrimmage here. Almost 8 yards. Actually, yeah, 7.5 right here. So when you're adding 2.5 extra yards, that gives that much more space. By the time the running back does get the handoff, sure, he's got a longer distance to go, but the blocks have already been developed by that point. So that's the one reason Moorhead can get away running GH counter with running back opposite of the GH counter side is because it's in pistol. And the nice part about that is, again, I couldn't predict that pre-snap. It looked a little obvious because there was an H-back over here. But yeah, it just makes it so much harder. It's not like with a team like Mounds View, like or Edina, for example. Okay, the H-back, running back are on the same side. It's got to be GH counter. Oh, they're opposite? Okay, it's got to be power. You're not calling QB GH counter with Mason West. It's just not his skill set. Okay, they moved him over. The guards are pulled back. I think running back's on this side. It's got to be sweep to the right again. Both guards pull. There you go. Okay, so Moorhead is a little predictable. But again, look how they execute. Watch the guards come around. Okay, there's no kickout block. Turn up field. Go block. Backside guard missed. He didn't get a piece of anyone, but play side guard did a pretty solid job there. I mean, think about this. Moorhead's just methodically driving down the field, taking whatever Rodgers is giving him. Oh, backed off last second, trying to mix with them. Again, you have a 2-4 nickel. A lot of green space right here. You might as well just run there, but I don't think Moorhead's going to run when they're in 10 personnel. Yeah. Oh, nice little spot route here. Look at this. They have him fly up, take both those guys with him, and then he just sits in the little window underneath. Well drawn up. I mean, what did I say pre-snap? See how there's just that beautiful space right there? Did Moorhead know that space was going to be there ahead of time? Did they call that, like, in the game? And so, like, one of the coaches noticed that and said, hey, Coach Feeney, they got space right here, call this. I mean, that'd be nutty if they did. 6A's got to be on lookout, man. If Moorhead's doing stuff like that when they come up to play Edina, EP, or Maple Grove, ooh. And they're chewing up time of possession, too. Think about it. I mean, this is already over a 4-minute drive. It's the first drive of the game. They've been just methodically going down the field. Ooh, you got a one-on-one matchup, man coverage on the top side. It doesn't make sense to run into 10 defenders. Yeah, I didn't think so. Ooh. Ball was thrown a little bit behind the receiver, but look at the footwork here. That's got to be David Mack. So watch how he takes the one step outside foot. No false step. There's no false step. He steps outside. He gets the Rodgers defender to open his hips. Then where's his second step? In the direction he wants to go. His back foot comes over this way, and he beats his man. Ball was thrown a little bit behind him where the defender may have been able to make a play, but it was a fantastic route. I'm loving the footwork. That's got to be David Mack right there. Number 9. I'm pretty sure number 9 is David Mack. Where's Bloods Football? Do they have the roster on their website? No. Okay, there's nothing on there. Max Preps. I want Ross. Well, okay. Obviously, they're not going to have the roster for this year up yet. They not have numbers? Oh, here's the numbers. Okay, yeah, David Mack. That is him, number 9. So that would explain why that footwork was so good and why he's got an offer from the U of M. That was real nice receiver footwork. Take the extra point. Oh, they missed it. Okay, kick the ball back off to our buddy Rodgers. Let's see if Rodgers is still running that spread offense with run plays. How much you want to bet they're going to come out with power? Okay, there's no way they're running power with just 10 personnel. Maybe QB power? And it's more of a quarterback lead. It looks like quarterback inside zone left, but oh, look at the Moorhead defensive line play. Look at how the backside defensive end slants into his gap here. He doesn't have to worry about the edge because an outside backer is containing. Nice 3-4 defense from Moorhead. Looks like they're off playing a cover 4 against the 2x2. He's obviously attacking. Oh, he just slants right in. Fights half a man. He sheds the block. Look at the handwork right here as he sheds the block off of the left tackle at Rodgers. Block shed, the outside back on the strong side here attacked, forces him back inside. And notice the Moorhead defensive end does not get upfield. He's very disciplined, stays at heels depth of the O-line, and the quarterback has nowhere to run to. He just gets pinched inside. Yes, sir, D-end. You should be happy about that. That was a pretty sweet play you made. Good technique. We love seeing good D-line play. Ooh, same thing. Rodgers came out of that huddle pretty fast here. Looks like you're getting the same look. You're getting a cover 4 again. Maybe a cover 2 over here. That'd be funny if it's cover 4 this side, cover 2 here. They're playing like a cover 6 variation. Ooh, that was kind of close there. Hitches? No. Oh, it's that stick route that I was making fun of St. Thomas for earlier. 5 and out. Solid catch. I think that's that same kid, right? Big number 87, the tight end. This is from the same year. This was a last year football game. He was the one that they matched up one-on-one against Spring Lake Park. 3rd and long. Rodgers does not like 3rd and long. And they're still in 10 personnel. This is really weird. I mean, I guess 87 is technically a tight end, but why aren't you using him as an H-back and running like GH counter or something like that? Oh, you had all day to throw. He's going to scramble now. Oh, look at the way the out... Was that an inside linebacker? An inside linebacker drops in his hook to curl and is just spying him. As soon as he scrambles, look at him come up. He breaks down, and he didn't let go. He almost missed the tackle, but he was able to hang on, wrapped around, wrapped up, and he attacked. Look at where he wraps up. It's a little bit high. But then other defenders come up and fill in. Watch the other inside backer come up and fill. The outside backer from that side is coming up to help make the play. Oh, look at the way they're celebrating with each other, man. That's culture right there. Remember we saw all the Andover kids clapping? I mean, this is just on the field hype and culture right there from the Spuds. Ooh. All right, now Rogers has to punt. Is this a different punt formation than they were using in the last game? No, it was Spring Lake Park that was using the weird punt formation. That's right. Ooh. Went out of bounds on your side of the 50. You're giving Jet Feeney a short field. I don't know about that. I think Moorhead might be walking away with a touchdown here. 20 personnel again. They could do GH counter to the bottom of the screen down here. It's what I would probably think is happening. And there you go. Yeah, and like I said earlier, they can get away with the handoff opposite of the pulling side on GH counter because he's coming from 7.5 yard depth out of pistol. It's the only reason the handoff works on that side. And the beauty of it, Moorhead does do post-snap RPOs. I don't know if this play is a designed RPO, but you can see he's out there reading the defense. I mean, if he wanted to, he actually could have hit the slant right here. It's open because what does your second-level D-gap defender do for Rogers? Right here, he attacks. So if you wanted to, you could have hit him in space right there on the RPO. But I think that was a really good example. This definitely looks like GH counter RPO slant. And see, that's the other beautiful part about pistol. Why Zeta does this a little bit too. You can when you run pistol, you can control which side the handoff is on of the quarterback, which then means you can control which side the RPO read is on. And pick on a specific defender if you want to, pick on a specific part of the field. That's just the beauty of pistol, especially with an RPO system. Whereas if you're sidecar, it's like, okay, running back's here, I'm here, the handoff is going to be here, my RPO side is over this way by design. And you can read that pre-snap. 10 personnel. You figure they got to be passing, right? Yep. Ooh. Little bit off target. Bunch of hitches, though. Okay, 3rd and long. What are the spots? Ooh. Coach Feeney's not happy about something there. Took a timeout. What's he going to call in the huddle here? Ooh, okay, we're in bunch. Well, sort of. It's a semi-bunch. 10 personnel to the one side. Motion across. Oh, it's a post wheel with the rail route out of the backfield by the jet. You have an H wheel with the post. I mean, this is nutty. Where did the cornerback go? Did he go inside? The cornerback didn't stay in his zone. Why is Rogers not committing to their cover 3 here? What coverage are they playing? Like, look at this. You have 3 guys all in one zone covering one defender. Is it zone or is it man? And this is a team that gives up less than 20 points per game on defense. Interesting. Yeah, if this is cover 3 and the cornerback just stays in his zone and trades the post off to the safety, like we saw Osseo and STMA do like a month or 2 ago, you could have defended that. Interesting. All right, what does Moorhead have? I mean, again, they converted a long 3rd down, got a lot of yards. There's another one of them Prior Lake trades where tight end H-back moved to the opposite side. They're going to give a sweep to the right? Yes, they are. Okay, predictable. Oh, and look at the way Mr. Feeney rolls out this way. It's setting up a bootleg to the backside. Like I imagine they have to have that in their playbook. Ooh, why didn't this one get off? How are the double teams the point of attack? Ooh, yep. Holding there, the down blocking against the 2 techniques is not quite as there as it was in the other plays. This one does a pretty good job shedding. The inside linebacker fills behind him, and those are the 2 that make the tackle. So down block not quite as successful there. Play took a little too long to develop. And, oh, false start. False start. Receiver at the top jumps. Y jumps. Yep, there's Y. He jumps, and there's the flag. Now you got 2nd and a mile. What do you call Moorhead? Ooh, empty set. Oh, there's Tay Rich, number 7, coming across in the rail route. Okay. Mr. Feeney has wheels. Look at him get out there. Wonder if he runs track. I mean, that's. I don't know if Mason West has escapability like that. I don't know if Riley Grossman had escapability like that. That's pretty impressive. He's able to get out there. So, okay, they may not call run plays with their quarterback like you do with a Sam Shaughnessy or like a Caleb Johnson, but you can. He has the ability to escape. Oh, nice corner route. Look at the switch they do here at the bottom. Look at this corner route. You motion him across to confuse the corner, and then you do a little twist. Again, is it zone or is it man? Who is supposed to stay with the receiver here? And it's almost as if Moorhead knows Rodgers is going to get confused on this. It looks like Rodgers is almost playing a nickel package, like a 2-4 nickel. Because there's your nickel. Who are your is this an inside backer? Where is everybody? What is the defense? I don't understand what this defense is right now. But all these defenders bite on the post. Nobody gets the corner, the free safety. It almost looks like a cover 1, which if it's a cover 1, then that means you're playing man underneath, kind of like a Dinah or Egan did to a Dinah. So you should be staying with him. Why do you go inside? Something got blown there. He makes the catch. Ain't no way. Ain't no way. Dude, that was David Mack again, wasn't it? Look at these moves. He catches it along the sideline. He's barely in bounds. Look at the green. You can see the green between his foot and the white line on the sideline. And he makes 2 defenders miss and bump into each other. Okay. I almost want Moorhead to play Hopkins at some point next. I know it's not going to happen because in order for it to happen in the current playoff structure, they wouldn't be able to, since they're both in Section 6, they don't play in the regular season playoff-wise. They would not meet until the state quarterfinal, and that implies that, one, there'd have to be a bracket where both of those teams are in the same corner of the bracket, and then each of them would have to win 2 playoff games to get there. And since Hopkins is locked in at an 8 seed as a Maroon team, they'd have to beat a number 1 seed in order to get there, which, 75% chance that's the 1 seed out of Section 5, which could be a Centennial, could be an Andover, maybe a Noka or Blaine. And my money's probably on Centennial at this point. Ooh, 2-point conversion. What do we got? Oh, okay. Look at the whip route here. So Rodgers is sort of wizened up. They're trying to take away the slant, and it's almost like Moorhead's 1 step ahead. They're like, well, we already burned you on a slant. If you're going to adjust to that, well, you're taking away the inside. We're going to go to the outside. And look, see, this is the weird part. Why is the corner playing an inside technique here if the safety is over the top on the inside? You might as well have him play an outside technique, and then the safety's over there to help if he cuts in. That's a little bit of an odd alignment. But look at the whip route here. Watch the footwork. 1, 2, plants on that foot, and then his left foot swings around, and with 1 step, reverses direction. Look at all the separation he gets. What a whip route. And just the thing I love about David Mack as a receiver, because, being a former wide receiver coach, he does not take false steps. You could argue that maybe at the beginning here, he leaned a little bit, slight little as opposed to a full false step. But if you watch his cuts, 1, 2, plants, turn, open. Like the way he is able to put this is always the big thing with wide receivers. When you're making quick directional changes, your foot has to go down in the direction you want to go to. And I mean, I'm seeing that almost every route with David Mack here. Like, no wonder he's got an offer for the U of M already. That is great receiver play. I don't know about his blocking. We haven't really seen any receiver blocking yet. Maybe I missed it and I didn't see it earlier. But Moorhead's getting after it, man. They get after it on special teams, too. I mean, they're fired up. Look at Coach Feeney over here on the sideline. He's hyped. Oh, that is an energy man. Maybe that's where I got the picture of him screaming on the PowerPoint presentation, because he's wearing a different jacket. But I think I'm starting to see some of that emotion coming out. Not emotion, passion. That's the right word we're looking for. So we're back at the 3-4 defense of the Spuds. It looks like if there's an H-back attached, they're going to walk up an outside backer. He's going to attack. Oh, dude, look at the fill by the inside backer here on the toss. And what's the reach blocking here? No one gets up to the inside linebacker? What a great read by Moorhead's inside backer. By the time the pitch is there, he's already in the backfield. And look at the technique. He wraps up. He doesn't quite have him. Look at all the other spuds that are coming. Dude, that's like watching Centennial come up and fill on defense. Look at all those orange and black jerseys that are pulling up. Spuds Mafia, man. Dang. All right, 11 personnel. So Rodgers is adjusting a little bit. They're like, okay, 10 personnel did not work. Get our guy back attached as an H-back. Counter tray. Okay, I mean, another tackle for loss. So why does the counter tray not work? Well, look at the center right here. Funny enough, they get a double team at the point of attack. You can't do that on a regular counter tray. The center's got to block down to the defensive end, and then these two block down to the nose guard. The play side guard should kick out the edge defender, and the tackle loops around and takes the next man inside, which would be this backer. And then the double team here works to the other backer. He has to block down because that defensive end would otherwise be unaccounted for, and he can easily slant in and make a play. The outside backer, the quarterback can freeze him as a read man, which he does, but the only problem is you can't give the ball to the running back because the defensive end is right there to take him because the center didn't block down on him. Yeah, I mean, this is 2 games now we've seen of Rodgers, and okay, he escaped, but I definitely have question marks for the Rodgers offense, or at least some of the blocking schemes we've seen thus far. Another 3rd and long for the Royals. What do they got? Did Moorhead dial up a pressure here, or do we have an X stun at the bottom? No, they're just rushing straight up. Okay, why are we throwing a seam against cover 4? I get that it was like a little stick. It's the same stick route with the 5 and out and then the fade. You can't do that against a cover 2 or a cover 4 because there's only one man deep and they're going to play it. I mean, you have only one man deep against their 2. Like, I don't know about that one there, Rodgers. Not what I would have called against a cover 4. And once again, Rodgers has to punt. That was another weird punt. Weird punts and Rodgers seem to go hand in hand, whether they're on the receiving end of it or the punting end of it. Ooh, there's a penalty there. That's going to come back. Oh, offsetting penalties. Interesting. Okay, this might be that same formation. I was about to say, H-back is going to motion across to the bottom here, and then we're going to get sweep to the right, to the bottom of the screen. Yep. Moorhead is pretty predictable. I will say that. Their offense is predictable. And again, look at the way they adjust on these blocks. Nice blocking. No man to kick out. Turns up field. Has the next man inside. Running back reads that. He's like, okay, I've got block there. You've got me. Oh, if the backside guard just gets upfield a little more and gets the safety, that would have been a touchdown. This is a case of running back moving a little bit too fast. Let the big boy get the block. Be patient right here. Let big boy get those 2, and then who's left after them? Nobody. You let your big guy take these 2 out, then you're not getting tripped up here. You are running to the end zone, and then it's 21-0 Spuds. Ooh, you'd love to see that. Look at the offensive lineman celebrating with him right there. Dude, Moorhead's got culture. Yeah. Out of any of the 3 teams coming up, I think Moorhead impresses me the most. Just looking at their technique, the culture. I know they have an Olympic weightlifting program. Are they going to go right back to sweep? Play action it. No, they're going right back to it. Hey, if it's not broke, don't fix it. Oh, that's Tay Rich running the football. All right, what do we got this time, Coach Feeney? GH counter back to the top. Give me GH counter. Yes, sir. Was that GH counter? No, a guard didn't pull. What is this? Did the play side guard pulled out? Might have been a broken play. I don't know what that was. And they still got a bunch of yards out of it in the first down just because they keep driving. All right, another timeout here. That might be the quarter. That's the quarter. Ooh, GH counter coming back to the top. Nice kick out. Follows the dude. Look, following the H back right up the hole here. Watch this. H back goes up, gets a piece of that defender and turns him. That's a real nice lead block by the H back. Hits a safety. Ooh! He trucks the safety. Look, he's pushing forward on the right stick right here. Tay Rich gives him the truck, escapes another safety, and now it's 21-0 Moorhead, and it's just the start of the second quarter. So David Max got 2, Tay Rich has 1, and we're only 12 minutes and 7 seconds into the game. But again, just look at the execution. Look at the downfield blocking. Look at the patience to follow. Remember how I was saying earlier, let the blockers get there and just follow them? I think that was with the other running back, not Tay Rich. This is patient running, then he uses the truck stick on a DB into the end zone. Yeah, Moorhead might actually be able to compete in the Metro West next year. Like, I would actually not be surprised if they finished like above 500 against the Metro West, based on what I'm seeing thus far. They might catch Edina and Wyzetta and STMA off guard. Maybe even EP and Minnetonka and Maple Grove. Who knows? Oh, bad snap Rogers. They just can't catch a break. They look rattled. And look at how the Spuds defense just flies around. Outside backer comes unblocked right away. I don't know what play this was. Yeah, once again, the question marks are popping up on the Rodgers offense. I was going to say Rodgers has a pretty solid defense, but Moorhead is really picking it apart here. Ooh, now Rodgers is going unbalanced. No, it might be. They have a receiver up there. It's 11 slot trips open. Toss. Ooh, Moorhead safety was arm tackling. That's an outside linebacker. Ooh, he wasn't aiming inside hip. He aimed outside hip. Tried to grab the gonads and wasn't able to get there. But the one thing you do like to see, all the Spuds are all hustling to the ball. Look at how many orange and black jerseys there are. Yeah, zero doubt in my mind that Moorhead definitely has the culture, and they can easily compete in 6A with what we saw in film. And cool to see that RPO offense in action. And they're like totally fine running the ball. They can pass the ball. Super scary offense, and the culture's there on defense. The technique might need a little cleanup on defense. Just like I said, it was more so that outside linebacker right there. He just aimed outside hip instead of inside hip. That's something you can easily fix. But that's pretty nutty. So let's end it on this. We've taken a look at Moorhead. We've taken a look at Andover. We took a look at Rodgers. These are teams that we in 6A have not seen in a long time. I mean, Moorhead, we've really never seen Moorhead at all. And here at Lakeville South, we've played 0 of these teams. So it's just kind of cool. It's like bringing two worlds together, especially the Moorhead one. Listening to that Dom Izzo podcast, go follow him if you have not already. Definitely recommend checking out a lot of those podcasts on the Inforum YouTube channel. And it's just kind of cool to bring like these two worlds together that have never collided, but they are definitely going to in the future here. So these are the 3 team schedules. Over here on the far left, we've got Moorhead. They start at home against Rodgers, at Woodbury, at Minnetonka. Then they get a home game against Wyzetta, home against Maple Grove, out at EP, hosting the STMA Knights, and then finish the season at Edina. Hopefully Mr. West is playing football, because we need that game. That'll be awesome. Andover starting off big at Wyzetta. Kind of funny that Wyzetta gets to play both Moorhead and Andover, 2 of the new teams to 6A. Wouldn't it be funny if Wyzetta matches up with Rodgers in the first round of the playoffs and they get the whole trifecta in the first year? That'd be nutty. But they're at Wyzetta, home versus Champlain Park, home versus Coon Rapids. And you got 2 tough road games in a row. At Centennial, at Anoka. Host Rodgers for homecoming, then you're at Osseo, and home versus Blaine. And then if we turn around and we'll look at Rodgers now, as I mentioned earlier, Rodgers is going to play the other 2 5A teams. You are away at Moorhead for the first week. Poor Rodgers having to go out there. Home versus Blaine, at Osseo, home versus Champlain Park, home versus Centennial. That's something that works in Rodgers' favor. If you look at the teams they get at home, Champlain, Centennial, and Egan, aside from Moorhead, those are probably the more physical teams on their schedule, and luckily you get them all at home. So a little bit of home field advantage there. But home versus Centennial, 2 rough road games against spread offenses at Andover, at Anoka, and then, as I mentioned earlier, finishing the season at home versus Egan. It's a really peculiar matchup. Rogers versus Egan. I don't know what to think about that. Both teams like to run the ball. Both teams kind of leave me with some, well, Rogers left me with more question marks on offense, a few on defense, but Egan leaves me with a lot of question marks on defense and none on offense, because it's like, okay, you can see what the defense gives him, and Coach Johnson is very, like, spot on with his play calling. Whatever the defense gives him, Flexbone's targeting it. So yeah, let me know in the comments. How do you think any of these 3 teams are going to fare in 6A this coming season? Who's going to do the best? Moorhead, Andover, Rogers. Andover and Rogers, do you think they have as difficult of a... Well, okay, I'm just putting it out there. They don't have as difficult as like a schedule as Moorhead does. But does that mean that Moorhead won't be as good? Because as we saw on film, Moorhead clearly looks like the best team out of these 3 in terms of both offense and defense. So it'll be interesting to see. These teams, welcome to 6A, and I think you're all going to be sticking around for a while. So get used to it. And hey, maybe they'll cross paths with Lakeville South in the playoffs. That one step ahead, ready to prepare, because we already have a little bit of a glimpse of what they like to do. So we'll be ready. But yeah, thank you all for watching. I really enjoyed putting together this video as well as the other one that'll be coming out in a week after this one releases, hopefully. And I will see you all when we get back from the Minnesota State High School League dead period after the 4th of July. Have a wonderful break, and yeah, aside from this, don't think about football too much. Go have fun, go get out in the sun, enjoy Minnesota in the summertime, maybe go fishing, do whatever you need to do. Have fun at the lake. Thank you all for watching. This is Coach Lance. Don't forget to go subscribe to the YouTube channel if you've not already. Go follow me on Instagram, and I will see you all next time.